This is Kitten Features, and you're listening to ShowX Live with Ken in a student accommodation all the way in Scotland, and Wayne in his white windowless van? Uh-oh, I better get out of here. Enjoy the show!
Hello, everybody, and welcome to ShowX on VtWProductions.com. You're listening live at 2 p.m. Eastern, and again, 7 p.m. GMT, now that us here in the States have decided to also share an extra hour of sleep and rest with those around the rest of the world. So welcome, everybody, to the show, and welcome, Ken. How are you doing today, sir?
I'm good. Thank you for having me on the show as usual, sir. It's always good to be here. And I'm glad that we're back to the normal time, because the 6 p.m. thing was just weird. I found getting... I must have scheduled biologically in my brain that whenever the show ends, I start to get sleepy. I'm like, oh, it's close to bedtime. So if we're doing an hour early, I want to go to bed an hour early. So
it's a stimulus that's telling you that it is time to be done.
Exactly. So for everybody interested, we're doing our stream key giveaways today. To increase your chances of getting a key, you can do two things. One, keep an eye on and participate in the chat. When I see there's a bunch of chat going on, I'm going to drop a key in there. And also, you can retweet the last thing that came out of the ShowX Twitter. That's twitter.com/VtWShowX. Retweet the last tweet from there to get your chance of having a free Steam key. And also, you have to follow it as well, otherwise I won't be able to DM you. All right, so how are you? Yeah, how's it going, sir? What have you been up to?
Oh, it's going well. It's going well. It is one of those things that now that we have gotten through another week of the show and through the end of October and all spooky times, you know, it's nice to have finished off the month with a good set of Halloween fun for me. So as we get into a little bit of
Dysfunctional Deviations.
What have I been up to? Well, let's see. Not a ton, but when it comes to all things Hallows Eve, I had a lot of fun doing the gifting of candy this Halloween. I dressed up in my Jack the Clown costume, one that I showed off and did for Dragon Con. I figured this is a great opportunity to show it again. And so I put it together, and as I was giving out candy, decided to dress it all up and be spooky with that. I'll share for people who haven't seen that costume a photo I have on social media for it there of my Jack the Clown from Halloween Horror Nights in Universal Studios. And so, fun character, wonderful backstory. Highly encourage people to go out and check it out. There's some podcasts out there and some YouTube videos you can see where they talked about Jack and when Universal first brought him out. It's fun because at parties and stuff I was doing, I was able to share some of that story and kind of tell people, oh yeah, no, wonderfully creepy character they created.
Cool.
So, anyhow, I got to do that. Also, for those that were here, and I know a couple watched along, my brother was one, I had a copy, and a few others that got to come check it out. I used the opportunity to gift out, while doing candy, to do what I like to each year, is play a spooky game and such. In this case, I played, what is the game called? Little Nightmares, which was nice. It's one that's not a truly scary horror game in the sense of what I often see. Not like you playing... What was it, Outlast, when you were streaming and such?
Oh, yes. I'll be trying about that in a little bit.
Yeah, so not like that, but one that's spooky and has a great atmosphere to it, a little puzzler game that I got really inexpensive on. I think it was under $10 on Steam when I picked up Little Nightmares. I streamed that while giving out candy, so if you go back to our last episode just before this, you'll see Wayne's Halloween fun. And in that, I shared both the video as I was playing it as well as my front door camera for whenever trick-or-treaters came around. And so I'd switch over to my security cam so people could check it out as I had my setup really nice. Really happy with what I ended up doing because I didn't spend as much time decorating or as early in the year as I would have liked to, doing a bunch of other things. So really, I only picked it up in the last week since after last show that I got things ordered, put up so I could do this carnival theme for Halloween that matched along with my costume. And so I got some streamer flags, like little carnival flags and stuff, and hung them all inside the house for my party I held, as well as some down my railing and fence line around the house coming up to it. But then I also put a few balloons out, and I had this fun little, if people see the video, you'll see little streamers kind of hanging in front of my walkway, in front of my door, so you don't see the door right as you're walking up. And in front of that it says, "Welcome to the Carnival." And as kids came through that, then I also would set up, I put just silly one of my skeletons on my porch swing that I have, a little plastic skeleton, but then opened my window just a crack that leads out onto the porch and put a Bluetooth speaker up that I had downloaded some creepy carnival music from online. And so just kind of playing all these different carnival things. So as they got closer to the door, they could hear the eerie sounds playing. And then
that's pretty terrifying.
Yes. Oh, thank you for the ad there, the stalking. But also put up there a smoke machine in my window so that I could hit a button and have it blow out smoke as they came up. So, and the handle for it, I was able to get the controller like on my desk right here in the office. And so as I look at my security camera, which was up above me gaming, and as soon as I see kids come up, I'd press the smoke machine, and which would give them that first little jar because it would go blowing out the smoke, the noise of it. And so they'd look over at the window and all the smoke would come pouring out the window, like, what's going on? And then I'd run over, grab my little chest of candy, open up the door, and come look out them with my creepy clown face. And in doing so, just coming out like, hello! And plus using the appropriate voice for Jack, which admittedly is a take on the Joker in a bit, and very much Mark Hamill's version. So the voice I use for Jack is always a, hello, how are you, everyone? Welcome to my carnival! Oh, it's such a lovely night this Hallows Eve. And just like enjoying their reactions. And much as was responded in the comments there, I think the thing that put most people off were the contacts that I wear for them, which are these yellowish, creepy eyes. Have a little jagged black coming around the edges of them. And for me, it seems like that really catches people off, where they just are a little unsettled looking at the eyes. And he also played through the stream. It was fun. It actually worked out just about right, where I didn't realize going in, because I'd never played Little Nightmares before, but I basically finished the entire game during Halloween night. And playing it's like I said, I recommend it. It was a fun, you can watch the whole playthrough for your mind, but it's a platformer puzzler in the sense that you kind of have to figure out how to avoid all of these things in the world. You essentially play the part of this little, never really identified kind of creature. I thought of it almost like a little girl in a raincoat, like a yellow raincoat type thing. And you never quite see the face, your little spindly thing, but you're in this world that you can't quite tell what's going on around you initially. It's dark, it's dank, metallic, and stuff like that. And at first you just get this hint that there's kind of these other creatures in the world. And as you progress into it, you start realizing you're in a world where you're sized about this up to the knee of these creatures in the world. You're just this wee little thing about the size of a rat or something running around. And you get images and glimpses that there are other things like you in that size around, but that these things use you as food. And so in doing so, as you're running around, they grab, if they find you, any of them, they'll grab you essentially to, eat you. Or who knows, but you die at that point, and they restart you at the last checkpoint. And so it's really atmospheric. It's really pretty isn't the right word for it, because it's kind of dark, dank, and the way the images are, they're just not pretty. But it's done in such a way that the atmosphere is really solid, and I thought it was a really neat game to play through. And so got to play through the whole thing while giving out candy, so that was a lot of fun. After that, the next day, I hosted a Halloween party myself, so then continued to finish cleaning and decorating my house so that I was ready for my carnival. And I also went out of my way to make some, I wanted to be themed. I wanted to get it together. It's funny because people are asking what the theme is. I said it's a carnival. So anyone can come to the carnival. It's the idea that no one else had to dress up as a clown or anything like that.
Oh, that's creepy.
Well, and so then as they came in, I got, like I said, the flags all throughout. I got little like white and red table scarf type things. I went around my tables and some of the walls, give it kind of that carnival tent look. I have this large selfie station in back that's still up that is kind of a big clown's face with carnival over it, that you almost like you'd be entering a haunted house or something like that. I put up a bunch of carnival balloons around the house, as well as some additional just red balloons. I figure to invoke the idea of Pennywise around as well. And then went so far as to make treats. So I made some rum cupcakes that I frosted with rum frosting, because why shouldn't you have rum in everything?
Of
Anyone
course.
who
That's
knows me.
logical.
As well as I made popcorn. I popped up a bunch of popcorn and drizzled it with melted chocolate to make essentially my own kind of candy corn type thing. And then later infused that with some rum as well. Or as I melted the chocolate, put some 151 into that and kind of drizzled it down and then poured it all over the thing. And I had gotten these little popcorn containers that I got online that say, you know, popcorn in little boxes to put it all in. And so just to kind of give that whole look and feel. As well as I got some confetti cookies. I don't know if you see the little animal cracker type cookies, the little animal shaped cookies that are pink frosted with little sparkle type things on them, or little however, they're a fun kind of carnival thing, as well as just animal crackers I put out. All trying to get it. I also got a big thing of corn dogs, you know, hot dogs on a stick that are battered, so that, again, a very carnival feel. And so that's what I laid out for everyone. And then I also, for my drink of choice, made cotton candy shots for a drink, which is a little bit of whipped vodka, vanilla vodka, so whipped cream and vanilla vodka mixed together. It's supposed to be cotton candy vodka, but I couldn't find any. Along with some vanilla ice cream that you blend up with it, and then a little
vanilla
bit
ice cream.
Ice cream with some actual cotton candy in there as well for flavor, and put that all together. And everybody thought it was quite lovely. I mean, it's basically just alcohol and ice cream, but it came out quite nice. So again, I was trying to keep the theme of the carnival as I was hosting it. I appreciated that. So did others, it seemed. I also had the opportunity. I still have to figure out what I'll do with this. A friend of mine, he excited me earlier because he'd mentioned something he had brought as a treat for one of the parties he'd gone to earlier in the week. But to keep it as somewhat a creepy carnival, because I didn't have time to truly make it as evil as I wanted. But he brought a pig's head that he had roasted and cooked up.
Wait. He brought a whole head?
Yes. An entire pig's head.
Oh, that's so morbid. Oh,
yes.
man.
Yes. So he had baked that up and set it out on a platter in the middle of the table with an apple in his mouth, along with a knife stuck into it. And people were able to carve meat directly off the head. And so that went over well. Unfortunately, not nearly enough people had some. I had a nice piece of cheek. Once you got around the fat, it was really tasty. And now I have the leftover head sitting on my counter still. And I'm trying to decide exactly what it is I want to do with it.
What can you do with it?
Well, my thought was if I get up the nerve to, I'll finish cutting off much of the actual meat and skin and stuff. Maybe I'll give the ears to my cats or something. I don't know. But my thought is to try to clean the skull and maintain it and then bleach it. So I'll have this big, proper, pig skull that I could use in the future as a decoration for Halloween and things like that. And so I think it's such an opportunity to do something with it. And now I'm trying to figure out, I've actually gone through some YouTube videos to figure out ways to do it. And one of the main ones I've wanted to do is perhaps do the method where you dig a hole, put some fresh dirt around it, a little bit of sawdust, and you let it sit underground for a month and a half or two and let nature decompose it further. And then you finish cleaning it off and bleaching it to get a nice clean skull. And so,
yeah, the skull's cool. I mean, I think that has like a biological intrigue.
Well, it just has that, right? That idea of just having a proper skull. Because I remember even from grade school, I don't know if you had the opportunity, but for us, it was like assembling skeletons when you went through biology. Taking like, here's what looking through, because you get kits and stuff for it, but you get like basically assembling a cat out of bones and seeing how the structure all worked and things like that. And from a very scientific perspective, I love it. And so, for me, I have that piece, as well as just as I have 3D printed my own skulls around, there's an opportunity I have to have a real skull. So we'll see what I end up doing. But I still have it sitting there, and because I will admit I consumed a decent amount of my cotton candy shots, because everyone that came in and needed one, I had to be social and have one with them. So come Saturday morning, I was spending a little more time recovering than normally I would.
Understandable.
So, yeah, that was some fun. But it
was just before you go too far on from the previous story. I wanted to talk more about the pig's skull. You reminded me of my favorite high school biology teacher. I'm not going to say her name in case she's still employed. I don't think she is. I think she's retired now.
Okay.
But she was the head of biology. And it was quite a small school, but the thing is, and you know, high school teachers, the problem is that they don't get to do any research or anything, right? They just teach all the time.
Yeah.
But she still had like a keen interest in biology. So she really wanted to, you know, like keep exploring and learning herself and that kind of thing. So as the head, she had a lot more access to some of the storage rooms. She had a special classroom where she had a cupboard at the back, and she had access to the secret tower, the secret turret that we had attached to our school.
Okay.
No student I'd ever known had ever been in. And so it was the last week of high school, and she was my favorite teacher. We all got on very well. It was a class of 5 because it was the advanced class, right? So there was very few of us. She said, well, if you've done all your exams, there's not much for us left to do. You just want to watch some films or something? And I said, Mrs. B, what's up that ladder? I've never actually been up there. And she says, yeah, I'll show you. So she rolls the ladder over to the trapdoor and opens it, and we all climb up. And there used to be a rumor there was a baby alligator up there.
Okay.
But there wasn't. There was no baby alligator. But what there was there was vials and vials and vats, I would say, of various,
like jars.
I'm assuming pickled.
Yeah, jars of formaldehyded critters.
Yeah, it was the specimen jars of various critters. Usually, and most of them were in their sort of various fetal phases.
Yep.
So, and I said to her, like, how did you get hold of those? And she said, I have friends in the universities and stuff who are doing projects on this on my ex-students, and they gifted them to me. And I was like, are you allowed to have this in the school? And she said, if it was known, no.
What?
But she had this like totally cool mad science laboratory at the top like turret of the tower. And it just looked so cool. Walking around, looking at all these jars. I was amazed. I'd never seen anything like that. You don't see that in museums or anything, you know, that kind of thing. That was really something fascinating.
As I say, I was fortunate because
the reason I brought up is because she also had some skulls up there as well. So we saw a lot of these old like sheep skulls and deer skulls and stuff.
No, that's something that I had the opportunity at various stages throughout my schooling to see some of. And I've always, it's not a morbid sense, right? It's truly a scientific level of trying to explore and see what it is of how creatures form and stuff like that, all the various critters in the world. And so I really love that. That's neat to see, neat to hear that you had something like that. It's unfortunate to me to think that anyone might get in trouble for having that kind of,
I think
collection around.
I suppose it's a mix of one, is it actually used for teaching, and therefore, if not, what's the point of it? Is it a distraction? And I think it's also the health and safety. If it's not approved and checked through the school system, who's to say that it's actually legitimate? I mean, it was ex university research stuff, so it was all fine. But still, I think it would have been a bit creepy for those who
creepy. That's what it should be when you go late at night into a science lab or something like that. You should look around and see like heads in jars and stuff and go, why? What?
Well, that's the thing. It's science, right? Like it's literally just the study of these things. It's not trying to make them creepy. It's not a horror thing. It is just like, look at this. It's quite interesting. These she said to me, I don't know if she was lying actually now that I think about it, but she said that the research was on not aborted, but usually when the parent animal dies, this is the one that was inside it.
These are all natural deaths. Yeah, it's stuff that something was happening anyway, so they harvest basically stillborn or unable to be born, fetuses and things like that. And so instead of just tossing them, they leverage them for science. And that happens in a lot of things. It's also a thing that a lot of people don't understand about a lot of industries out there that use animals. People that unfortunately tend to be just anti anything, food, leather, you name it, from animals. They don't realize how often those animals, one, are bred for the sole purpose of that use, but also that their entire carcass is utilized in some fashion. I'm of
the opinion that I think killing animals is morally wrong. However, if you are going to kill it, you should use it all. Yes. Also, Premium Key is dropping, as I said in the chat, at 20 minutes past, which is in 5 seconds' time. So prepare for a Premium Key.
For everybody who does the retweet games and are in the chat live now, jump in, play along, and whoever grabs it first gets the key and gets the game. So check that out. All right. So yeah, no. So then I hosted my party. Had a good number of people kind of come in and out. Most in costume, and a couple who didn't. Unfortunately, I hadn't had the time to search around in all my things that have been a little disorganized in the basement. That I'd like to find my box of costumes, because I usually have a set that I will forcibly put people in that are usually cheesy kids type costumes, little funny hats or something like that, or just a mask, just something to say, there, you are now something. Because I do pretty much require at least some effort of a costume around Halloween for it, if I'm going to go through the process. Because I wore Jack, my clown costume, 3 days in a row. So for Halloween giving out treats, for my party, and yesterday for another party I attended. And so for all 3 days in a row, I did the full hour's worth of clown makeup, and making sure everything was set and pinning the awful wig to my head. At least by the third day, I'll give credit that it got easier each day to do little bits more. And in doing so, I am significantly better off at doing it. I think I can get it on for the most part in about 40 minutes now. Shaved about 20 minutes off time. And I was able to get the first day, unfortunately, I did something with the wig where it felt like someone was pressing in the middle of my head the whole day for Halloween, and so that was just killing me. But then the next 2 days, I was able to manage it, so not nearly as bad on the scalp line. But anyhow, with that in mind, I just hope people would at least try to give me some love with the costumes they bring, and they did a bit with that, so that was fun. But people hung out, they played Cards Against Humanity, they played Joking Hazard, we watched scary movies on the TV. One that I put on that everyone kind of kept looking at, like, this movie, oh man, was from, God, it had to have been the 90s, Event Horizon, which is a space-based horror movie kind of thing. Think of like the feel of a Dead Space game without all the monsters in the same sense, but just kind of that eerie level of going around in space. And everybody who was watching kind of saw in the background was like, wow, man, what is this? And you see the characters and like, man, Lawrence Fishburne was young. But I feel like I need to go back and sit down and watch it again, because I think I've only watched it properly once to get that kind of scary movie thing. We also I threw some cheesy ones on there that were just kind of playing in the background. I was setting up, allowing people in there. But had those going on, and people just kind of enjoying each other's company, having some drinks, having food and snacks. The corn dogs went quick. Every time I baked a set of those, they were just gone. So everybody was appreciative of those. But for the most part, boom. So good party I hosted. Everyone seemed to have a good time. Got surprised. A good friend of mine, Unit Zero, one of our gamers. This is a totally side note, but he showed up and he had a present for me, of all things I wasn't expecting. Ooh. But it was from it was a vinyl, and I don't know how he would have known to get me this, because prior to the last time they were there, I didn't have it, I don't think. But going home to my folks, one of the things I was able to acquire was my dad gave me their old Technics 1900 record player, vinyl player, their Panasonic. But he ended up coming and giving. He said he had it in his collection for years and thought of me with it. But it was the vinyl for Boys Don't Cry by The Cure. And, like, I was floored. I was just like, what? You just gave me an actual album from The Cure? Man, you know me.
So that's why you posted that on Facebook. I was curious why you had the album cover posted there.
Yeah, nah. So we took it like downstairs that minute, and I threw it on and had to play it because I was just like, this is too good. You know, I was so excited to receive that. So that one was really neat. Anyhow, that was a side note. He ended up helping stay the night, and again, my friends are all pretty good because cleaning up wasn't a big deal, but I was feeling it. So I ended up basically passing out on the couch. And I nursed most of the day yesterday, a lot of water and, you know, crackers and such to get myself back to feeling like a human.
Yeah, it's a mix of lack of electrolytes, vitamins, and all that sort of, and water, of course. So yeah, just drink lots of water, and that's the key to.
Yeah,
plus,
big part.
Actually, I find if you have a glass of water before bed, that helps a lot as well.
I did my ex's old remedy, which was a glass of water and 2 ibuprofen or some kind of like headache medicine before you go to bed, and something, crackers or something to help soak up whatever's there to minimize the effects. And I will say it helped. It helped, and I got up. I was never at a point where I was like unfunctional. I just realized I didn't want to be all that active throughout the day, and the prospects of getting ready for the next evening's adventure lingered the whole day as I kind of sat there. When am I going to start getting ready? And so I very slowly got about and kind of cleaned a couple things up, and very slowly sat on the couch and watched some TV and such, which I will get into, and such like that, before going to another friend of mine's, basically friend's sister, hosts this epic Halloween party every year. Her and her family do it up. I've talked about them in the past where their house is basically a Halloween house year-round. They have life-size figurines that they acquire. They have a Mike Myers doll that's life-size that will move when you come by it, and then like animatronic come around with the knife and such. They have a life-size Chucky doll that sits around kind of like a Roomba and then it moves around with a knife in hand.
Terrifying. Okay.
They just added a new one where they have a little motorized, about the same size as the Chucky one, up to the knees, Pennywise. A hand. It's a hand holding up with a balloon on the front of it that has Pennywise face on it that moves around.
Yeah,
they put those in the garage. They have a Wolfman in the kitchen that's big, probably 7.5 feet tall or so, that'll lean over and kind of move around and keeps grabbing. It seems like all their animatronic things end up grabbing you at some point. At some point, like the wolf came and like grabbed the back of my wig when I got too close. And every year, that darn Chucky, that little crotch goblin, because it goes around and it gets you in the most inappropriate ways. All of a sudden, you have this little childish doll like in your crotch, hand up, coming around with the knife. It's just constantly like on you. I don't know how it does it, but it's always maneuvering where it seems to just run into you constantly. It's terrible. But they have their whole house just set up, and they told me like today they're cleaning up, and they said their record for cleanup after a party is about 8 hours. With the whole family getting in there and doing everything. They go nuts. Cleanup. Yeah, well, so I got out there and I took pause when I first got up and pulled up, because as I drove by their house to find parking, cars all up and down the street, but it looked like they had a full-size Ecto 1 in their driveway. And I was just like, what? You guys are ridiculous. And then I come through and find out it was inflatable. And so I was just kind of like, okay, that caught me. It looked so good that I thought they'd actually found one of like the Colorado Cars groups that does cars for like people that make replica cars for movies. I thought they had hired one of them or something because it looked that good.
That's cool.
That they have projectors putting images on their front window and such, so in the blinds you see all these animations happening. They have so much going on in the house for Halloween. And it's funny because it's all ages, and they have all these young kids running around in their costumes. And throughout it, some of the kids always assemble like a costume contest where they have all the adults vote on the kid's costume who has whatever categories. And they do a parade of the kids around. So it's just a really good time. So for me, I had a great weekend of Halloween. Basically 3 days in a row of just Halloween fun, which was a nice finish to the month after kind of slow rolling at the beginning of it, not really doing as many creepy things as I had planned. And so it was a nice like tale on that. So outside of the Halloween celebrations, the only other things I had really to discuss is in my recovery mode and getting ready for streaming and then recovering from the party I hosted, I watched a series on Netflix, which I don't know if any of you have heard, but this is, I would say, a take on another superhero movie on that genre. But have you heard of the series Raising Dion?
No, I've not. It sounds like a Celine Dion zombie film.
So, no, this one is one that is very different than anything I had expected. And it is essentially a show that is another, and I'll show the trailer as we go through this, but it's another show about superpowers, if you will. And this one, it's specifically speaking to or showing a young family that is a black family in America for what's happening in it. And it's a twist, I would say, or different on the normal genre of what you would see. In it, essentially the child, this little kid Dion, starts showing the abilities, kind of just all these random abilities that are significantly powerful. Things like telekinesis and actually teleporting and just all these various things. And it's done in a world that is like life today and regular worlds where this isn't a normal thing. And so so you get to see kind of the interactions of this young, basically mother that's single raising this child, dealing with having a child suddenly who's all of 8 years old, 7, 8 years old, that is showing all these abilities and what that's like and how kind of crazy it is. And at first, it was just interesting because you kind of start the story of just the single mom and what she's suffering through and trying to deal with life. And then
it's very pretty looking, isn't it?
Well, it's a Netflix show, and so it's really well done. Good budget, good effects, very pretty to watch. Like for me, watching it in 4K and such, just really nicely done. And I had heard about it from others, just kind of basically saying, "Hey, have you seen this? This is pretty legit." And so for me, as I started watching it, I'll give it like the first 2-3 episodes. I wasn't really sure. I was like, it's all right, but I wasn't really drawn in fully. It's somewhere in like the 4th or 5th episode, it really started catching for me, and it's just one of those that's continued to build and how much I've enjoyed it the longer I've watched it. And so I'll be very curious to see how it all turns out as I finish the season of it. But that's been one I've been checking out. That's a lot of fun, and it's not. It's weird. It's not happy. It's not sad. It's not like when you watch The Boys, how that's just bloody and awful. But it's definitely not a capes and cowls movie, right? This is more the happier version of, if not happier, but not as bloody and ridiculous as The Boys when it comes to if power suddenly manifested in the real world.
So the trailer, well, that's what I was going to say, actually. The trailer gave me the feeling of Heroes, season 1, which I adored. God, I love that TV show. I was so sad with the last season.
Yeah, had all the potential in the world. And I would say, yes, if there was a good kind of vibe to it, it does kind of have that feeling in the introduction of. And I'll give credit. The child is a good actor in this one. And there are points where I was just like, nope, I could not handle a child being like that, and things I wanted to comment on and struggle. But as it keeps going through, I'm just like, yeah, this is good. And no, Mika, this is no Brightburn. No, like I said, it's not that kind of creepy or that kind of...
What's Brightburn?
Brightburn's the one about basically the kid. It's like combining, I would argue, even though I haven't seen it, just knowing about it and hearing their review of it, I would compare it to like a young Superman, but if they were the Omen. If it was like just the most awful child type superhero out there, a powerful creature. If you just got, black Superman kind of thing, or not black, but like the dark evil version, and going around. And so, yeah, it's a messy type hero movie that is not happy. It's a horror movie. So cool. That's one to throw out there. And so, yeah, good thing. All right, so those are ones I do recommend if you have Netflix to check out Raising Dion. So far, I've been enjoying it. And the final one I had there, and there was in also getting things together for the party and stuff, I started trying to organize more things. I've had artwork that I've collected over the years from cons and things like that sitting on my table for some time. I need to clear it off for the party. So instead of just putting it back in another room again and deferring till later to do anything with it, I went to one of the art supply stores and picked up a bunch of frames to the tune of I spent probably $250 on frames to try to get all of this artwork somewhere appropriate in my house. I've been slowly trying to find homes for things I've really enjoyed picking up and I've just had sitting collecting dust. So the first things I got put up just in time before the party, because I finally had a moment after getting everything clean, is when I was at Atlanta in Dragon Con. Gearbox Software was there, and they had a massive display inside the dealer room where they're giving out all of this free swag for Borderlands 3, right as it was coming out. And one of the things they gave was the set of 7 nice art pieces that were all Borderlands. And essentially, they're all Psycho. The character of the Psychos from it, faces and things like that in various art forms. And I put them all together, and I set them up in my bathroom down here, in the main bathroom that people would use downstairs.
Scare the crap literally out of any...
So that's the thing. There's such pretty artwork. And they're so colorful that it's not scary at all, but you walk in and I needed a place for them. And that way I was able to set them in like a panel of 6 that kind of matched, and then one over the toilet that was like a Warhol painting of like 9 images of a Psycho. I'm really happy with it. I've had this goal of wanting to get my artwork out more. And seeing them up there, I was like, all right, I need to keep doing this and find spaces for everything. So yeah, it's good times. But that's pretty much what I had done that's not been geek this week, or little blends and stuff around it. So, Ken, how about yourself? Did you have an opportunity to celebrate any more things Halloween? I know I saw pictures of kitten features. So, yeah, kind of. So this is not the premium key in the chat. That's just a random one, but please do enjoy. I've been up to some stuff in the past week. It's been, it's a bit crazy just now with all the getting ready to move across the world thing. So that's been taking up a lot of my time, both at work and here, because
for the first time, even the thing is, I've worked on, I think, 3 projects technically at the end of and after the end of my PhD, right?
Okay.
But whenever I finished one of the projects, it was always a case of, but you're still around, so you can still work on it here and there, and
you don't have to be. You don't have to completely have everything documented out and done, right? It can be in stages.
Exactly. But now I'm actually leaving, so I feel like I've got to do a proper handover. So it's been quite hectic at work, getting all that sorted, and it's weird getting ready to say goodbye. I've packed up my desk, I've cleaned it and everything. It just feels weird because it doesn't really feel like I'm leaving because I've been there for so long. It's hard to really believe I'm actually leaving that my company's in there.
Oh, I can only imagine how that feels because I've been in my office in the general vicinity of where I've worked for almost 20 plus years now. I've been in the building, the overall facility, for 22 years now that I've been working, and so I couldn't imagine what it would be like to just I'm seriously gone. Because in the past I transitioned.
It's really weird because I first started this uni in 2009, so it's been a decade. September was the anniversary, actually. I did go away for 2 years, about 18 months, but I came back, and it feels like I've never really left this town, Stirling. It's absolutely my hometown, and while I love it dearly, it's a beautiful, beautiful place, especially right now, autumn. Oh my God, the crisp golden leaves and the oranges and yellows, it's beautiful. It really is. And I'm really sad to be leaving at this time of year. But at the same time, ever since I've learned that I'm leaving, a kitten actually described it quite well. It feels too small for us suddenly.
Oh, interesting.
Not because we're too big, but because we're now ready for this new adventure. That every time we drive to work, that road feels so dull and overdone. Like we're just sick of it, right? We're sick of driving that road again and again and again. Even looking around the rooms in the house. Where, if you asked me a few months ago, I'd say it feels like home and I love it. And I still do. But now it feels like something that I need to get away from. And it feels like I'm ready for something new.
Interesting.
So it's just, it's an exciting time. It's pretty scary. But all that prep's been going on. So I've been selling stuff. I sold my whiteboard today. I was quite sad to see that go because it helped get me through my PhD. And just selling things here and there, like clothes and giving things away. I've been giving away so much stuff. It's actually at first I was like, I'll sell everything, and then I realized how little time I had and how very little an economy there is for second, third hand buyers of everything around here. There's no garage sales, there's no garden sales, no yard sales, none of that stuff. There's a car boot sale, but it's not very good.
Gotcha.
So it's really hard to sell on your items. So it eventually became I'll just give away most of my stuff to friends and family. But they don't want my stuff, so I'm sort of trying to push it on them because I don't want to put it all in the dump. I don't want to just waste it all.
Well,
so
do you have the opportunity there to do donations as a last-ditch effort?
Yes,
because we have several places that here in the U.S. they do. Admittedly, we often do it as a tax shelter. But we have a lot of organizations that will take things that you don't just have to dump them. And then I was going to make comment, like Tom saying eBay, and I would say if you guys have a version of a Craigslist, Facebook Marketplace, Let Go, all of those apps, right?
Facebook Marketplace is great because I don't want to have to bother with delivering stuff in boxes and stamps and all that crap, right? So I'm just trying to do it locally, and plus it's better for the carbon emissions and everything. And it's just been really difficult. I can donate it, but you know what it's like. You'd rather it go to you'd rather any of your savings or your money or your investments, or in the case of furniture and stuff, goes to people you care about.
Yeah, you want things to go to good homes in general. It's like, get out there, do something with it that's not just, I don't know, that's not just giving it away.
Exactly. I gave away my 12-string guitar this week to a good friend.
Oh, man.
That was quite tough. Because, I've had that similarly about 12 years or so, it was close to my heart, so it was quite.
Oh yeah.
I restrung it and I showed him how to restring it and everything, and he really appreciated it, and I can tell he's going to take good care of it and everything. And that's the thing. I would much rather something that's so close to my heart go to somebody that I care about rather than going to some kid who might drop it down the stairs or something.
Oh yeah.
So that's the difference.
I would say even when I got rid of my
Tom Bad Guy says, send me your game collection. I was going to send it to the US anyway, I'd probably just send it to me.
As I say, some of it I'm pretty sure you're still taking with you. There's a lot of things that you're going to maintain. But yeah.
Although I actually did throw away my Xbox this past week and all of the games, my Xbox 360.
What?
Because I tried to give it to friends. I put it on Facebook Marketplace and everything. No buyers. Even though I said £1 a game, like just super cheap, whatever.
Oh my!
I said the Xbox like £20. Nobody's interested. Even though it was in perfectly fine condition. So I went and I tried to give it to the charity shop. They said they don't take electronics. I was like, okay. So I just put it all in the dump.
Oh
Xbox
man!
360 and all games and the pads.
Okay. The one other thing I will advise as you do those. Oh, that hurts me in a way, because you want to, because you can gift those to a disadvantaged child, right? Here, kid, you have nothing.
Where are these disadvantaged children?
I don't know.
I tried. Well, I went to like 3 different charity stores, and none of them would take old electronics because they have this problem where people are like, "Here's my old Sega Mega Drive," and nobody buys it, so they throw it out anyway.
Well, see, certain ones they totally sell over here, which is crazy. But like that,
there's also the problem of electronics are not allowed to be sold without being certified, etc. So if it's something really cheap, like an old Xbox, they need to hire an electrician to check it, certify that it's okay to be sold or whatever.
What kind of nonsense do you guys have over there?
That costs more than the Xbox.
We just sell things as is. That is like the default thing in the United States about anything you sell. When you say as is, means you are taking whatever garbage I have, even if it doesn't work. And so that is so bizarre to me that they make it that hard for you to do. Because like I've even done so. Here's in my neighborhood, because I'm in a neighborhood where things are there. I've helped friends get rid of things, like when my buddy Sir Spencer was moving out east, and he had a few big items he just didn't want to have on hand anymore. And one I kind of wish I'd kept later, which was a heavy bag, training bag, but I didn't have time at that moment to do anything. I set them in front of my house on a table with a sign that said free. That afternoon when I got home, like an hour or two later, all of it was gone. People just grabbed it, because a lot of what happened was people who either took it to have themselves or to repurpose, resell, or do something else where they realized it may take them a minute, but they could invest, turn it around, and sell it for $50, $100, whatever it is, and just make pure profit. And so it was basically me just taking it out of my responsibility in hands to someone else who wanted to take the time to do it. I don't know. Lots of opportunities to do stuff. It's funny, Ken, because I've watched my parents go through basically the same thing as they went and sold our house. And they've now invested and turned around and got into their RV. They put some things in storage. But the rest of it is they went and basically threw it out there. And they had some difficulty selling, especially some of the bigger items in the house. Like their bedroom set, this massive old entertainment center, because people don't do entertainment centers anymore. Right? They just do maybe a little stand for the television, and they mount their TV on a wall. And so all these things that they actually had a lot of difficulty getting rid of. In fact, right now, I think that's still my challenge. My dad's trying to sell his truck because they downsized to a smaller, one of the SUV type trucks to pull behind the RV. And he's got this really nice, couple-year-old Ford 350 pickup truck, this massive thing. But it's the top end, not Lariat, but the one better than that. And so he'd like to get $50,000 for it, in its condition. It's beautiful. He's added and upgraded things to it. But trying to find someone to buy it at that last moment is just like, what do you do? And so, and I wish I was in a position to be able to invest in it, right? I'd love to be able to say, Dad, I will buy your truck. I wish I could.
We've got a similar problem. That's a 4K 52-inch HDR TV, smart TV. It's beautiful, top of the range. We got it last year for £600. We've been trying to sell it for $450, which is pretty damn good considering to buy that it's still at the same price. Nobody's interested.
That's so
I
crazy.
got offered $300, but that's such a low ball. I'm just like, oh man.
Well,
so I'm probably going to go for it. To be honest.
I was going to say, I will tell you that.
Better than nothing.
Yeah, because something like that, it actually does benefit bringing over, because you can replace that here in the States for $250, $300.
Exactly.
Which is like everyone I've known who's ever come over here, all the Aussies and stuff I know who ever come to the States, lose their mind when they see our large electronics and the prices of them. Mm-hmm. They look at our TVs and they're like, this is ridiculous. Because I remember when I came and visited you and we went down to the shops, and at the time, in your equivalent of a small multi-purpose store, right, that was there. I forget the name of it. But when we went there and we looked at the electronics section, I marveled because, and this was years ago, right, but the largest TV they were selling was like a 42-inch.
Yep.
And I was just like, and the price of it blew my mind. I think I commented at the time that was like, back in the States today, you could buy a 65-inch TV for that price. In the
65-inch like OLED, yeah.
Yeah, right. Like just beautiful.
Yes.
I was like, this is ridiculous. And so I cannot wait till we do our series. We'll have to make our little subsection of, Ken goes all American, and just any stories you have for your transition over. Because man,
there's going to be a lot of that. I imagine there's going to be a lot of things we're getting used to. But that is one of the nice things about going to the US is we'll probably be upgrading our TV system massively, just because we'll spend the same amount of money we would here, but it'll be a massive upgrade. So that'll be nice. I look forward to that.
Oh, it's so ridiculous. So
I was actually in a mega store, well, not mega store, in like a special electronics store earlier this week for a pickup of an item, and they were selling a new OLED TV 65-inch for £4,000, I think it was 3,500, something like that.
Ugh.
So that's like what, $5,000, $6,000?
Yeah, I mean you can buy a TV at that price, but if you buy a TV like that here, man, you're buying the latest generation massive OLEDs, like the ones you can't get, right? Or what is the latest tech that they have that's at that price range? No, here you're buying an 8K television. When you're buying something that range, you're looking at getting into, you're just starting to hit the market for 8K.
Yeah, that's what I would expect. But no, not here at all. It's madness.
Because my 65-inch OLED LG costs about $2,000 US. So you're like £1,500 and such.
Yep.
And so it's just,
I wish it was that price here.
I'm sitting there, it blows my mind. Like, yeah. You're talking about buying wall TVs at that point, or as Kurt was saying, massive projectors and such.
I was going to say a projector, yeah, exactly.
It'll be very entertaining to see when you come over on all of these things. Between the big purchases of, where you're going to live, large electronics, large vehicle, and all those kind of things. I can't wait for this process.
I do get to bring over one of the good things with the UK that we have over the US, and I'm getting to keep it, which is neat. So my phone, right?
Oh yeah.
I've got a nice I don't know what kind it is. One of the latest versions of the Samsung phones. And S10.
Okay.
Plus,
yeah, Galaxy or whatever.
And it's the Plus anyway. But yeah, anyway. So originally I had 40 gig data a month on it. Which was a bit excessive. I didn't really need it, so eventually I went down to 20 gig and saved some money. But I was looking at, I've got a year left on my contract, about 14 months, and that's going to cost me about £600 over the next year, which is ridiculous, right? And the fact that I'm going to the US means that it would cost me additional £6 a day, so like what, $8 a day, for me just to use it. And I was like, that's not affordable. I can't do that. So I may as well just like sell my phone and just try to sell off the contract, and that'll be that. And I thought that sucks. That's me basically going to be losing money for no reason.
Yeah. And
I thought about it, and I looked at their plans. It turns out they have a special plan called Unlimited Max 2 or something. And basically it means that when you're roaming abroad, so you're going to a different country, you can still use the data, and it's the same data that you would use for your normal contract, however much that is. But you can use it as normal while in this other country. And one of the countries listed was USA. So I upgraded my plan to the unlimited, which was, there's no limit on the download. It's literally unlimited. That's both in terms of speed and in terms of amount of gigabits, right, per second. So it's 4G as well. And it works in the US. So I, as far as I'm aware, that's something that you guys don't really get there, right?
You can
true unlimited.
Well, so I have True Unlimited on my phone.
Oh, really? Okay.
I basically spend. I am on AT&T at the moment, my carrier, and I have a basic calling plan where it's like 450 minutes a month, and it rolls over. So I've never used it. It gets free usage, no long distance in Canada and the UK. So those places I know for sure. Unlimited data, although they do the thing where after a certain amount of usage, they start to throttle you. And I forget what mine's at, but it's pretty decent. The challenge I have, and it's funny because what we're currently running into in the United States from technology, and this is something everyone else there should be tracking, be aware of, is the upgrade to 5G as a network speed and standard, where right now it's barely first trickling into the US. There's a couple places, but the challenge most people have is they don't realize is current phones, there's only a handful of handsets out there that have 5G antennas.
Yeah.
And so it's one of those entertaining things because like I have finished paying off this iPhone 10 completely, and they started saying, "Hey, we're more than happy to push you into an 11." And I was like, "Why? It's the same phone with an extra camera or two on the back. That's it." And new processor, stuff like that, but nothing that this works great, and it's an OLED screen, and I love everything on this phone. So why would I need to do anything more? Because what I'm waiting for is for 5G technology to hit and to truly be not what my carrier says, where it says that we have 5GE, which is a marketing term that AT&T uses. That's a complete piece of crap. That I wish there were laws in the States to keep false advertising in that sense, because they're saying, it's a technology thing, not the 5G network speed. It's what we're calling our current capabilities list. I'm like, yeah, you guys are full of crap. You are cheating by telling people you have something called 5G that everyone's now hearing about 5G, even though you have nothing of it in the market. Pisses me off.
Yep.
But anyhow, and that means, I'm actually doing okay, and I spend just under $80 a month on everything for my phone, for my plan. Probably could find cheaper. There are others in the States that are cheaper, but this has provided me constant connection anywhere I go, and I've not had an issue. So for the most part, it's one of those no harm, no foul, in that it does well enough for me to be happy. Rarely I've been mad at that, and I hear stories from other people all the time, different levels. So that'll be interesting to see your perspective when you come over what it's like. The nice thing is because I should, and because of the way long distance calling goes, anyone should be able to call your number, even though it's a UK number, no problem. Because there shouldn't be any long distance fees. And so that should be nice. Not that anybody actually dials anybody in real life anymore, calls anybody.
Yeah,
so.
I was planning on giving out a Skype number anyway, so that I could be contacted that way. I thought that'd be a nice way around it. But we'll see. We'll see what happens.
Let's say Skype numbers, Google numbers. There's a lot of opportunities of ways out there to do it either for free or very inexpensive. So
yeah, that's my plan. I don't mind paying a little bit for it. I mean, if I can get to keep my number, that'd be pretty neat. And plus, I got to terrify people by giving them a +44 number. They'll be like, "What is this?
Hey,
is this magic and trickery?"
You got to use that as your exotic aspect, right? Where you get to sit there and be like, "No, because I'm Scottish." And
Ken was saying I need to tone down on that. Otherwise, I'll have too many people trying to be my friend and such. So I need to try and be gruff and pretend I'm not.
No,
Scottish.
Be Scottish as hell. Just don't actually let anybody friend you. It's that managed. I always tell people, it's funny, on my social media feed, I've got this massive list of people that have tried to become friends with me that I've just ignored because I don't actually interact with you. So no, just because you thought I was neat one time we met doesn't mean I'm going to give you access to anything on my social media.
Oh, I prune like crazy. So
I need to do more.
Yeah, once every couple of months, I'll go through my Facebook and my Twitter list, actually, and I'll take away people that I don't actually actively speak to because I don't want to follow you or see what you're up to if you're not my friend. So I've got almost 200 people on Facebook, and I've been through it recently a few times. There's nobody else I can really cut out, at least not until I move.
I need to do some more. I need to do some more pruning. I'm realizing there are a lot of people, and I saw someone else post it on it that I've taken a little bit to heart. Where a comment, because I felt this way, but I wasn't sure how to enunciate it. And I didn't I need to reset it again to really get it across. But is anyone who is following my profile just to be able to get junk on me to talk about with your other friends or whatever it is, just to keep track of me, who aren't actually my friend and don't actually want to associate with me, bugger off, right? Just unfriend me. Do it for me, because I am assuming if you maintain this friendship thing with me, it's because you may actually want to be around me at some point. And so if you don't, and you're maintaining my friends list, you're doing me no favors. Leave. You're a troll. You shouldn't be there. Just do it. Everyone a favor.
I don't get this. I don't get this like casual politeness aspect of it, right? Like, for example, I have like I used to have a high school friends who I hadn't spoke to since high school, so like not spoken to in 11 years or so. I used to have her mom on Facebook because we talked occasionally when I went to her house or wherever.
Yeah.
Like, why would I need to have Sheila McSmith or something on Facebook? I don't care what you're up to. You don't care what I'm up to. And all I'm going to see is you spamming some like essential oils crap on Facebook. I don't want that. I don't ever want that ever. There's no need for that. So yeah, I prune, and I'm proud to prune. And And it's not as if I'm being edgy about it. I'm not being like, oh, you have to only the creme de la creme get on my friends. It's not even like that. It's just I'm not a douchebag. I'm just being practical and realistic about it.
Yeah, no, I'm in the same sense where I am more than happy to just start like unfollowing people initially so I don't get as many tweets from. And then there's some people I will actually unfriend when I start doing the real thought of, am I socializing with you? Do I interact with you? Do I ever is there anything in between us that works in a way that is constant, right? And I'm starting to realize there's some people, because there's a lot of people I see on my streams and stuff that I'm thinking, they don't actually like me, or they're embarrassed to because of their other friends and things like that. So I haven't interacted with them for some time. And so the hardest part is these have been people that some of them I used to think were pretty darn good friends. And they've allowed garbage in the past or things other people said to change their opinion without actually coming to me. And so then I'm kind of like, stop faking it, or stop showing one group of people that you think, that you're interacting with daily, that you're this way, while maintaining in the background this little leash of like, but maybe I do still want to have you there. It's like, nah, bugger off.
I had one family member who complained to my parents because they said that, oh, you post so much like atheist stuff. I don't like it. I was like, then unfriend me.
Yeah, right.
Like I don't care.
Don't follow my posts.
If you don't like what I post, if I don't like what you post, I'll unfriend you. If you don't like what I post, I'll unfriend me. That's fine. Or unfollow if you really want to.
Or unfollow. Well, or what I've done in other cases is there are some people who just push certain topics that I don't care to see constantly. I maybe disagree with, or I think it's ill-informed. And so what I'll do is I'll check and I'll hide that source. Because what I often find is the people who repost stuff constantly only post stuff from maybe 1 or 2 or 3 sources. So once you mute those 3 sources, it's all gone, right? Yeah. There's certain sites you can just pick and say, I don't want to hear anything from this. And then when you don't, all of a sudden the feed cleans up significantly. So my message, own your social media. Be in charge of it.
Yeah, absolutely. So anyway, that was a really strange tangent. So yeah, I've been doing a lot of prep work for the move. So tomorrow I'm actually flying down to London. I'm staying the night there, and I'm going to meet with the U.S. consulate Tuesday morning. So that's going to be fun. Now, the interesting thing about this, and it sort of got raised as a joke to me today, is somebody said to me, "So you're flying through the 5th of November, then?" And I said I wanted to visit various places in London that I've never seen before while I'm there. So, for example, I want to go to the London Eye. I want to see Big Ben. I'd like to see the Houses of Parliament. And somebody said to me, "So you're flying on 5th of November, and you're going to go to the Houses of Parliament before you leave the country on the 5th of November?" And I was like, "Yeah, that sounds really bad." So for those who don't know, 5th of November is a British holiday called Guy Fawkes Night. And Guy Fawkes was a guy who tried to blow up Parliament. And he almost succeeded, but he was thwarted at the last minute and burned at the stake.
Yes.
So every year on the 5th of November, for some reason to celebrate or to, I don't know, point out how bad he was. I don't know why we do it, really. It's just a tradition at this point. We burn an effigy on a bonfire and have a fireworks night. So the 5th of November every year is fireworks night. Most people just call it that. But there's also, generally speaking, each town will have at least one big bonfire, and the council will pay for a bunch of fireworks, and it'll be fun. And there's cotton candy, there's usually fair rides, that kind of thing. Hot apple cider, but not the kind that you guys drink, and all that sort of stuff. And it's good fun, all right? But then you think about me visiting the Houses of Parliament on the 5th of November. I wonder if they have extra security on that, actually. I wouldn't be surprised. Because they probably want to avoid the poetic meaning behind that. But anyway, yeah. So I probably shouldn't talk too much about this in case I don't get to fly. But I'm going for touristy reasons. I've never been to the Houses of Parliament. Never been to Big Ben. I've been to London a few times, but I've never done any sightseeing. So that's what I'm looking forward to.
Gotcha.
So the other big thing that happened to me this week was. So as you guys know, I passed my PhD a couple months ago. So I achieved my doctorate. But one of the things that happens is you either pass with minor corrections, major corrections, or resubmission.
Or God, good luck, you barely made it. What are you doing this for?
Or go do a master's instead, or complete fail.
Oh my gosh, I've never heard that term before, and that is hilarious to me. The idea that it's no. Stop trying for a doctorate. Set your sights a little more attainable. Go get your master's.
So it's really called it's actually slightly different from a master's. It's called an MPhil, and it basically means it's a master's of research. So quite a lot of people a lot of people actually go for an MPhil anyway because they want to go, for example, if you want to go work as a stats guy in a biology or chemistry lab, you don't need a PhD. You can go and do that with a master's. So you might go do a master's research. In computing science, you'd probably just tell most people it's just a master's. You wouldn't really explain that it was a PhD that didn't quite go through because that sounds worse. But there's nothing wrong with it, and it is a good degree to have. It proves you've done some work, and you wouldn't be awarded that if you hadn't done some work. It just means it's not worthy of a doctorate. Anyway. So I passed with minor corrections, which is I think 90% of people who pass get that, right? It's the most common thing. And it basically means that I had a few months to go and fix some minor things. So I did all that. I handed it over to the examiner this week. We sat together and went through it all, and she was happy. And so she's accepted my corrections, which means it's no longer I have passed.
You no longer have any condition on it. You're now done.
Yeah, it's no longer conditional. I've now passed.
Nice.
Which is great.
Congratulations.
I'm still, technically speaking, I still need to go through graduation to officially finish, and I'm technically not graduated yet, which is really annoying because the bank won't give me my title until, even though I'm like, the uni is giving me the title. It's on my door, like it's on my other bank card. But one of the banks are like, no, you must graduate first. I'm like, shut up. I'm not even going to be in the country. I mean, for God's sake.
Well, it's all those benefits you get by being a doctor, right? That, all those discounts you get and things like that. They want to make sure it's legit.
Yeah. That actually, all I've found so far is that if I'm like I don't know, trying to get my car fixed or something, I'll hide my title because I don't want anybody to think that I'm a doctor because it might imply that I have money. I don't have money. Right?
It's like, Dr. Reed. Well, yes, like this oil change will be 200 pounds.
Yeah, screw that. So I'll wear my uni jumper, the one I'm wearing now, and I'll just pretend I'm a student. I think that's probably because that's what my pay basically is. Anyway.
Yeah.
So yeah, that my thesis is now done. That's great. The other thing I want to mention is that I have Halloween celebrations were on Thursday for all around the globe. So we did a couple little things. Nothing particularly major. We did a Halloween stream. Or I did a Halloween stream, and it was so for those who didn't see it, there's a clip on my Twitch channel.
Wonderful highlight.
Could you? I give you full permission, sir. Could you possibly just show it on the stream here? I don't know how easy that would be.
Give me a moment as you start setting it up, and I will find your stream.
I'll explain it. For those interested, there's my Twitch in the chat. Please do give me a follow. I'd appreciate it. I'm trying to grow. It's quite hard. So basically, I was playing a game called what game was I playing?
Outlast, right?
Was it Outlast? Okay,
I
Outlast.
I thought you were playing Outlast.
Installed it.
What?
Because I was like, I ain't touching that again. Nope. I was like, I can't play this game. I can't play it.
That's funny.
So Outlast, yeah. Outlast is basically this horror game where you're stuck in this mental asylum and you're a journalist and and you have no weapons or anything. You're not trying to attack anybody. You just want to take photographs and stuff.
Yeah, it's one of those ones I always feel like that kind of game's tough because if I can fight back, like when I play Left 4 Dead or things like that where I get a gun, I'm okay. When I don't get a gun, it's like, come on.
And by the way, this war of mine, I said it'd be on the hour. Sorry, I'm a couple minutes late. There you go. It's in the chat. Please do enjoy. First person to grab. That is this war of mine on
the
Steam.
first person who wants a truly psychologically challenging game, jump on this war of mine. It's wonderful. It's great. Be in a good mood when you play it.
Yeah, it's depressing, but it's a very good game.
Yeah.
I was playing through this game Outlast, and I don't know if you got up there.
I do. All right, so I'll switch over so you guys will be able to see at least Ken's face as he's playing through a scene in Outlast. This highlight he had. And so this is when he's coming through. No, it won't have the audio on this one.
That's a shame.
Because it won't have the desktop one. But I recall what it is because as you open the door, that was your response. and you basically were commenting like, why did it have to run in my face? I love how you stopped and like just backed up from the game for a moment, like, Oh, it was a good time. That was a great clip.
I said, Jesus Christ! And then I had to just take a second. I had to stop for a couple seconds because I was just so terrified. And as Hando says in the chat, Ken, you barely got to the scary part. I'm such a child with these things.
This is why no, this is why Little Nightmares was a great stream for me, because it didn't scare me. It just kept me unnerved. And there were some moments where I was just like, dang it, because it's more platformer and me having to perform. And that was more what got me in the game playing it versus truly scary. Because then I installed Soma, and I started trying to play it. And it just got to a point where I was kind of like, you know what? There's no more trick-or-treaters here. I think I'm good. We're going to end this before this actually gets scary. And so I was able to walk away like, nope.
Yeah, I just did not have I don't know. When it comes to, like, when it's horror films, it's no problem. I can watch a horror film easy and it's fun, right? I'm just so detached. I enjoy it. I get a little jump scare here and there, like everybody. But I'll never have the reaction that I had on my stream, because no way. I cannot do it to that level. The interaction, the fact that you feel like you're really there, terrifying. Cannot do it. And people are saying Soma's currently free in the Epic Store. Yeah, check it out. It's one of the most highly rated games that's actually on Steam just now.
Yeah, I may try it more again, because I love the engine. It's an older game. It came out years ago. But it allows you to like interact with almost everything in the game. You can pick up and move and things like that. So just how filled the game is neat. And I barely made it to the first, like, starting to get creepy. And I was just kind of like, nope, I'm good. Ready to be done.
Mm-hmm. Yep. No, I just can't do it. It's just not my thing. It's not my jam. I play games to enjoy myself. I don't mind a bit of scariness. And I'll talk a little bit later, actually. I'm playing Dying Light just now. And there's some moments there that I get a little scared just by being surprised by zombies more than anything. But that's the kind of level I'm happy with. I don't mind that. The Forest I'm okay with as well, mostly okay with. Because I kind of know what to expect. I find the zombies dumb and their AI is a bit stupid. So I just find them kind of like silly more than anything. Except for some of the creatures when you go in the caves and stuff, that does terrify me. But anyway, yeah, so Halloween was good fun. I did that a bit of a stream, and that was enjoyable. So yeah, that's everything that I want to talk about.
So the one question I had for Halloween before we take the break, what was Kitten's costume theme? Or, like, what did she call her costume?
Oh, feel free to show it if you have it there. She would just go for a scary clown.
Okay, I wasn't
so it's quite
sure.
funny, right? Here in the UK, especially in Scotland, and maybe it's just our town especially, on Halloween day and night, pretty much, unless you're going to a party, nobody will dress up. There's no celebrations really. There might be some like special drinks at Costa. There might be like a special, I don't know, candy available at the stores, but that's about it, right? There's almost no real Halloween celebrations. It's really quite depressing, and that's one of the things we're really looking forward to the US for. But Kitten, being an American and being herself, who is quick to jump on celebrating and having a good time in life, she dressed up as a scary clown, did her own scary clown makeup, and did a great job. And she went to work like that. And it's so funny because, like, she works at the university near me, and she's the personal assistant to the center director, right? Like, she does quite a hefty, quite an important job. And everybody else walking around in like their suit jackets and stuff, and then she's walking around in this like terrifying onesie with scary makeup. I love it. So yeah, if are you showing it? I can't see.
Yeah,
it,
no, it'll be there. So it's showing. See, make sure.
Okay.
Oh no, that didn't go to the other one I wanted. Yeah, no, she had the full body suit, and I was wondering because it has the big mouth just before, and then she painted up her mouth.
Yeah.
As well,
yeah,
and then she had the nice like zoomed in look of her with it, which I saw it and was just happy because of my costume. Saw it like that is so good, so good.
Yeah, she did a great job of it. It was really quite impressive. And I think there was a couple people who like glared at her during the day, which I didn't get. I was like, come on, man! Like, people just get bored and they're like, oh, how dare you not fit with what everybody else is doing? How dare you try to have fun and be a unique person? How do you enjoy yourself on Halloween?
I say some people, and Halloween's not the same kind of event in a lot of other countries that it is here in the States. We love it. And in fact, talking to one of my Aussies that came to the party, she was mentioning that she never grew up with Halloween, and so she doesn't really believe in the dressing up. It doesn't care much for it, although she still came to the party. She just put on little Minnie Mouse ear type things. Where then the other Aussie I got over, he's great. He's jumping 2 feet for everything. So he came over in a inflatable raptor type costume that looked like he was riding it, where his legs are the legs. So he came over that, and he was all dressed up, excited for it and stuff. So I was like, see, that's what I want to see. Come embrace the culture. And so, no, I can understand.
That's awesome.
And it's funny because I didn't do it at work that day. But it's partly because where I work, there's a lot of constraints on you can't cover your face or anything else that would mess up your
Of course.
recognizability, and so there's not a lot of my costumes that I could wear. That's part of my challenge. But also, I just knew I had to come. I got left early and came home to get ready for kids. So
I think my favorite costumes are the ones where it looks like you're being carried around by something. I don't know why. That just makes me. I just love the morphism of size. I think it's just really
they're
fun.
entertaining. And like one of my favorite clips I saw on social media was someone had posted a clip of a guy who was on early parties, obviously, had one of those where it looked like some guys carrying him on their shoulders. And so, you know, that he's got short legs kind of coming over the shoulders. And he was so knackered that as he was like on the subway back home, you could see him kind of like swaying about and such. And so it was funny because he's passed out like drunk as could be. And it looks like this guy is holding up this drunk guy. So it
maybe
worked.
it's part of his costume. Maybe,
Well, it just
maybe he wasn't even drunk.
oh no, he drunk. I mean, because he's leaning against the doors to the subway car, like out of it, and just you see him just swaying back and forth with it, and so it looks like the guy below is trying to balance him on it.
Oh, no.
And so, admittedly, it cracked me up well. Anyhow, it is time for us to take a break. So yes, that was our Halloween shenanigans. And when we come back from this, we'll talk a little bit more geek and hopefully jump into a few things talking about this weekend's BlizzCon and announcements that came out of Blizzard and see what your guys' thoughts are on that. So hopefully you're enjoying the keys. Hopefully everyone's getting a smattering of there, getting in there and grabbing some. If you already got one, I recommend giving others a shot, but up to you. But with that, we're going to take a quick break, and in this we're going to play, because BlizzCon things, a remix, OC remix song called All Nations Rise from World of Warcraft. So hopefully you'll enjoy this. This is made by The Wingless. And so that you're listening to ShowX on VtWProductions.com, and we'll be back right after this.
Send in your emails to showx at VtWProductions.com.
Right, BRB.
listening to ShowX on VtWProductions.com.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the show. Alright, it is time for us to transition over and do a little bit more of a...
I'm a geek. Are you a geek? Geek Cred, level up!
Granted, I think we've already gotten a little bit into the geek. The only thing I really wanted to talk about this week is that I have been spending a little bit more time playing some team fight tactics in League of Legends. They have a whole separate thing in League where you can earn basically bonus points to open up additional little things in team fight tactics. And so but you have to play that game mode in order to get them. And so I normally pay ARAMs, and I always say if anyone sees me on there and they'll see the little tag I have that says ARAMs only, it's pretty much all I play. But Teamfight Tactics has been something I've been kind of getting into a little bit. And for the first time, and I don't know how often for any game, I've been trying to put a legit effort to it. And by that, I mean I have found a website that talks through, so far just minor, some of the item builds and things that happen in the game. Because what will happen is you'll get from various characters you either get hold of or from the fights that you do against minions in between rounds from actually fighting other regular players. You'll have opportunities where you'll get random items. And when I get those random items, I have no idea what they combine into, because every two that you kind of get and stack, the first two you put together, will turn into some other item and have different abilities. And in doing so, I have made mistakes of doing things like putting a Guardian's Angel or some item or something on a character that never gets killed or is the last to die, and so it makes it less effective, or not necessarily my damage dealer or my tank or something like that. And so I've actually gone to this site. It's on rankedboost.com/League of Legends, and they have various information about the regular game type stuff like that, but they have a section specifically for teamfight tactics. And on it they talk about the champions, they talk about some of the comps you can build as teams, which I haven't looked at those so much. I've kind of still been doing my own little just playing with the RNG, mostly the random number generator of which characters show up as options. But I have been trying to pay more attention to the actual items so that I can start building and putting things together in a way that makes sense versus just throwing all the items I have on one person and hoping it works. And so in doing so, I am trying to be better at the game, I guess. The nice thing is I have legitimately been scoring or ending up in the top half of most of the games I've played in the last week or so. Like, I've gotten fourth place or better in most of those games. I have still not beaten anyone. I've still not won Teamfight Tactics, but I have gotten second place, finally, and I've been bouncing third and fourth more than a couple. And so I'm trying in little bits. I don't know why it got hooked into me or why I've been trying so hard, but I've actually been trying to play the game smarter, where normally I just play. In almost any game I touch, I just play. I don't do research. I don't try to get to be a better player, really, but I just rely on my natural gaming skills to carry me through. So this is one of those few times where I'm trying to do a bit of research and learn a little bit more and see how it goes. And it's funny because I don't know, really, other than my younger brother, anyone else who's playing Teamfight Tactics really at all on League. But it's something I just do on occasion.
I saw it and went, that's kind of neat, I guess, and then just never even considered it again. It just doesn't grab me as something that's interesting.
Yeah, it's not something I play when I want to. It's my non-active game, because it is, as people discussed, and I think Dodo's the first one that did it, it's an automated chess game. You put out various units to play together, and then the AI takes over and they all fight. And so it's more the strategy of setting up your pieces, working with what's available, and certain strategies for comps, things like that. So it's like the in-between of almost a, card collector game type thing and the regular play the game or such. It's some in-between, kind of its own genre. And so it's been a nice distraction for me in different cases than when I would normally sit down and say, no, I need to concentrate and play this ARAM, because I will do Teamfight Tactics while watching or listening to a video on the side or something like that, where I'm not paying as much attention. I don't have to hear the audio cues. I can just see what's happening and go through there. And I can kind of randomly, since it's playing itself for the most part, I just have to make the decisions between matches. I can let myself just observe it a little bit while I'm doing other things. And so that's really why I've used it. Just how I know is, like, some friends of mine have played games like Tower Defenses or Bloons and stuff like that, where they're not actively playing the game. They're just using it as a time to play it while doing something else. So that's how I see it. But that's all that I've been doing that's been really geek-related. Other than that, I've still tried to clean some things up. If you see, I made a new offline screen for our channel. So if anybody sees when we're offline, I updated that with the social media tags, stuff like that. So, but
I didn't see that very nice.
Yeah, no, I did that this morning. So little things. But that's pretty much what I've been doing that's geek this week. How about you, sir? Anything in particular you'd like to bring up?
A good number of things actually, and I should probably be careful because I do want us to talk about news today. There's quite a lot of stuff. Geez, and there's a lot. Do you mind if we go over a little bit today? That we might end up going a little bit over.
I'm fine, and I figure after the show, if people are wanting, I think Hando was requesting that we look at some games like Dying Light or The Forest or something like that.
So that's one of the games I'll be talking about shortly because I've been quite enjoying it.
I don't have The Forest, but I think I do have Dying Light. I checked. I'm pretty sure I have it. So.
How many people can play? How many co-op Dying Light?
I think we were talking about earlier, and I don't know if maybe it was The Forest that Hendo said we had that it was
4,
like 8 or something. So 4 in Dying Light and like 8, I think, is an option in The Forest. Anyhow, something after. But yeah, go ahead, and if we need to, we can definitely go a little further with the show today, since we do need to talk about BlizzCon.
I could talk over a little bit. I don't know if I'll be able to play games. We'll see, because like I said, I'm traveling early for London tomorrow morning, so.
Yep.
And it is late here. Right, so first of all, I uninstalled Destiny about a week ago, Destiny 2, on a whim. I don't know why. I don't know. It's because I needed space for another game. I can't even remember what it is now. So I uninstalled it, and I thought, I wasn't that fussed about it anyway. And then a couple of days ago, I was really struggling to find a game, and I thought, maybe I should give Destiny 2 another shot. So I reinstalled it a few days ago. And I started to get really excited about it. I was like, I really want to have a kind of MMO experience. And I've been so mad at Blizzard, and World of Warcraft just looks like such trash now, with all the sub races and such, and the furry stuff.
We know you hate foxes.
Yes, I do hate human-like foxes. I said, let me try Destiny 2. So I played it for about 20 minutes, and then uninstalled it again. And it's because I even talked to Leo Noved a little bit about it. I sent him a message saying, like, hey, like, did you get the DLC? Do you enjoy it? Does that add a lot of content? And I asked him the question, why do you play this game? What about it do you enjoy? And he didn't respond to that question. So that made me think, that's kind of the same with me. Like, I think it's a really pretty game. But all it does is make me really want to play a version of it that isn't an MMO that is fun.
So the problem is, right, if they had made Destiny more of like a Halo game, with a solid scripted storyline and not the random encounters and not the random mobs, it would have been phenomenal. That same kind of 4-person co-op actual game, which is what I arguably, right, the original Destiny, when they first did the trailers for it, looked like it was going to be. It looked like it was going to be this really tight Halo-like experience with 4 players that was even more gritty and more PC-like than what Halo was, but super gorgeous new engine, all these things, with some kind of co-op, bigger multiplayer levels where, to me, it looked originally like those multiplayer things would have been kind of like big raid boss things where you could go into a shared space. And instead, it became this whole... Because my problem with almost every MMO or multiplayer game where you can progress on your own kind of thing is that it encourages people that have more time than you do to destroy the game. And it really makes it hard to play with people.
Well, that's not the experience I've had with Destiny. The problem I've had with Destiny is it kind of suffers from the same thing that DC Universe Online or whatever it was called suffered from, which is that. And to be fair, to give DC Universe a fair standing, I actually really enjoyed the customization in that game. I love the fact that you could change how you traveled and the kind of powers you had and stuff.
Yeah,
I thought a lot of that game was actually quite fun.
Character creation stuff like that was good.
It was very good. Unlike most MMOs, Destiny 2 really fails really hard.
Oh, you get no customizability.
Yeah, you can choose a couple of races, which, I, from what I can tell, change nothing whatsoever. And then you can choose between 3 classes, which they all just use the same weapons anyway. So the majority of what you do seems to be the same. It's just that occasional cooldown special that you get to use.
Yeah,
there's like 3. You get like one. For the tank class, it's like a shield. For the warlock class, it's a heal. And then for the other class, I can't remember what it is, something else.
It's some multi-damage thing or something. Because I only played it as like the damage class of Deeps.
And it's not. So that's one thing with World of Warcraft, which is also an MMO, and obviously the fair one to compare it to, considering it's the king of MMOs. For now. It has extreme customization, right? You choose your talent tree, and you choose out of, 12 classes now? 12, 13 classes, something like that? And how many races? Similar number, right? And then you choose your talents within that. And then your professions as well. The customizability is insane. It's maddening. You can really have a very unique... And in fact, it gets to the point where there are specific achievements that are... holiday based, like go throw snowballs at this race class combination. Yeah, there's
all kinds of things
and
you can keep throwing in there.
Because there's just so much customization. And I love that in World of Warcraft. I love the fact that when you went into a dungeon with a warlock, you didn't know if that warlock was going to be a really DPS-y type warlock.
Yeah, what spec really anything is.
Or he's going to be able to tank with his pet, or whatever, right? I like the fact there was so much customization. In Destiny, you jump in a dungeon with a couple of people, they're not called dungeons, of course, a squad or fire team or whatever, and you go and you fire your guns at something with some insane amount of health. You strafe to avoid damage, and it'll go invulnerable once in a while. You just wait or kill the other minions or whatever. Then you shoot it for a while longer, and then once every 4 minutes of shooting, you get to unlock your special, which will take off a third of the boss's health, and you feel great. It feels good to use that. It really does. You're like, oh, look all that damage I did. Then you go back to just holding click while you shoot the thing.
But at the same time, Ken, one of the challenges I think for you for a game like Destiny, because I'd also wondered, did you play Halo or did you play...
I loved Halo, man.
Okay, you did.
So much Halo.
Because I was curious, because I rarely hear you discuss many shooter-type games that you play.
I don't play much in the way of shooters, that's true.
Yeah, and Destiny is much more the shooter, and arguably I would say it is less a traditional MMO like a World of Warcraft, and more an action RPG style game, which is closer to some of these Korean influenced type games and such, where you're meant to be more clicky and such, and jumping around, and now your positioning matters and things like that a little more so.
I don't mind all that stuff, but I just wish there was more customization and more creativity in the battles. I don't like having to just hold and click. Yes, there's the variety of weapons you can choose from. For example, one of the special weapons you can unlock is the sword, and I really enjoyed getting my special ultimate sexy weapon to be the sword, because you just run up and you can mince things. You just destroy them. You really do. It was really cool. Or alternatively, you can get a grenade launcher. Alternatively, you can get a rocket launcher. And you can say that's a level of customization as the weaponry, but it doesn't feel, I don't know, like
so the challenge,
instead of it being you're choosing the weapon you like, you're just choosing whichever has the highest power rating, because that increases your overall power rating. It's just,
I would say
meaningless.
It's similar to, or a better comparison for me might be the Borderlands series, because it has that action shooter group co-op feel to it. But even Borderlands feels like, and to agree with your argument a bit, more customization in the talent tree for how you want to play each class, because each of the classes in it, the 4 or 5 different kind you can play, have at least 2, if not 3 distinct talent trees you can drop down for how you play the character, be it more range, more melee, kind of in between, bullet sponge type thing, or more supportish, group based, all those kind of things. Mm-hmm. And with, granted, a very humorous, usually, storyline with it and such, so equally fun for me to play solo or in a group. Where Destiny, I like because it's pretty. I like because it was one of the games that I could jump on and put 4K up on my screen with my computer and have it run flawlessly at 60 frames per second. So I think it has a very polished engine in it. Mm-hmm. Some of the worlds I think were very pretty, but there were some trappings in it about lack of where you could really go, and a commonality in the mobs that were a challenge for me, right? That you eventually would find some new ones, new things, but also it suffered from the thing that I hate the most, which is the very random, or not random, the very predictable respawn. Because in Destiny, you're stuck with, this area spawns these characters. These areas spawn these characters, right? And there's almost no variety in that specific encounter, let alone the level of them and things like that. That for whatever reason, what Gearbox did with, with its Borderlands series, where you have similar types of things happen, it still feels more manageable in Borderlands than it does in Destiny. And I don't know why. I don't know what it is about there, and how just the progression in the game I never bought into. I really enjoyed the first maybe hour or so of Destiny 2, because I got the free download whenever it was available. And then once it went into kind of now freeform into the world, it lost almost all the joy. And I don't know, if you're gonna give me that kind of world, give me something where I don't know. I'm more into the focused gameplay. It's why MMOs in general don't draw me, because they're these massive great stories, but you either have a dedicated team that you go with it all together and you experience it, or you kind of just bounce around and get little pieces, and you're almost dragged into a perspective where it's all about just doing the fighting and leveling up. Then it is
I agree with you
the
completely.
story, which will be part of I think the discussion about what's happening that Blizzard announced with what they're doing. So anyhow, let's not belabor Destiny. It's one of those things that I also feel is weird because it didn't catch. And there's another. It reminds me of, what was that newer game that came out that was supposed to be like 4 to however many people dropped together in an online world that just fell off the face of the earth almost instantly. It was supposed to be the next big thing after Destiny came out, but I forget the name of it now because it just died. It died almost instantly. I remember playing the beta for it.
I'm not sure. The one last thing I would mention about Destiny was I've put like 15 hours into that game so far. I made all 3 classes and I got them through the introductory quests and stuff and tried them all out. I got one character to a couple hundred power levels higher than they were to try and experience it. I couldn't tell you one thing about the storyline. I have no idea. There's some kind of magic robots that fly around and give you powers or something. And I tried to listen to the quest text. Maybe it's just so contextually based on Destiny 1 or something, but I just didn't find it interesting. I didn't find it appealing. I didn't find it intriguing or memorable. It was just so generic. Here, go here, do this quest. And I found myself not reading quest text after a while because I just didn't care. I just wanted to go and get my new shiny new weapon.
Anything that gets me to a point where I'm not actually reading what's going on pisses me off.
Yeah,
it completely really takes away from what I'm trying to accomplish. Because then what am I doing, right? What am I doing if I'm not actually paying attention to what's going on in the world? Mm-hmm. And so that happened to me as well from Destiny. I absolutely agree. So, and thank you, because 10 and 15 basically told me, the game I was trying to think of that just fell off the earth instantly was Anthem.
Right.
Yeah, right. Okay. It came out, had all this buzz. It looked really pretty. Everyone played it and said, this is dumb. And it just died hard.
I heard it's gotten better since, because I think the problem was a lack of content, as is the norm, right? But I've heard it's been getting better. I'm not so sure. So the next thing I was going to talk about was Hollow Knight. I played this for 26 minutes this week.
Okay.
And that is not by choice in terms of, I would have loved to have played longer because it looks really pretty. I love the environment, the sounds, the storyline seemed really interesting. The platformer feel of it looked great, and it had really high ratings. So I was really interested in playing what was supposed to be one of the best indie games of all time. So I downloaded it on Steam, started playing it. And I got past the tutorial a little bit, and then got ahead a little bit, and then it got stuck at a loading screen for about a minute.
Okay.
And I thought, this is quite a small, pretty chill, tiny game. My laptop is not, it's not the best out there, but it can handle this no problem. This is weird. So I killed the process, and then I reloaded it again. It didn't save my progress, which was a bit irritating. So I had to go and do that 15-minute thing I just did all over again. Rushed through it this time rather than talking about it on the stream like I was doing. And then I got to the next stage, and then I got a C++ DLL missing or something error that popped up, runtime error. And I was like, well, if you break twice in 30 minutes, and I know that everything's fine on my computer because I updated my graphics card that morning. I did Windows Update that morning because I'm very strict with the maintenance of my computer.
Yes.
I've cleaned up the RAM usage. I clean up my libraries. I clean up everything, right? I'm very thorough. And I know my computer's up to date and everything is fine. But for some reason, Hollow Knight kept crashing on me. So regardless of how nicely designed the game is, there's a level of implementation that's required in terms of quality that apparently doesn't have with certain graphics cards or certain runtime environments, maybe Windows or something. So I uninstalled it. I actually tried to get a refund, but it turns out I got it from a third-party site. Oh, well.
That's a challenge.
I played a little bit more Monster Hunter World because after I was annoyed with Destiny and not scratching that, in fact, making that itchier rather than scratching it, I really wanted to play something that was good but also pretty. That's what I really wanted. That's what Destiny made me want to enjoy. So I loaded up Monster Hunter World on the PlayStation that I got for Kitten, and I started playing it. And I don't know. I started doing the combat, and I thought this is okay, but I don't know. Maybe it's again this different culture of gaming that I'm not quite used to, which is, let's watch this 30-second animation of these cute cats cooking. And I was like,
okay.
That's pretty irritating. And then, if you're trying to do a quest, but you also want to explore something, you have the quest giver shouting, "Hey, over here," every 10 seconds. And it was like, can you screw off? I'm trying to just look at how there's a beautiful sunset here. Clearly the graphics designers in this in your team must have spent like weeks working on because it's gorgeous, and I can't even look at it without hearing you squeaking in my ear. I then tried the combat, and I don't know, maybe it's just because it's the early weapons, not upgraded very far or anything, but I found it very clunky. So you press one button to attack repeatedly. Okay, fine, whatever. For this one weapon I was using, but I found that if you get started on a combo, if you try to like dodge or something in the middle of the combo,
something interrupt it.
You can't. It just stays still. So you're like mid-attack.
So basically, it gets locked into that combo mechanic, right? That you have to either finish what it is you're doing, or such. It doesn't have that ability to flexibly jump back and forth between what you're doing.
Minor complaint, really, right? I mean, in reality, I should just learn that that's just the way the game does it and just move on. I don't know, but there's just a mix of these different issues that made me think like this isn't scratching my itch either. It's very pretty, but it's not making me enjoy. I'm not enjoying the game. There's one other game that I played. It was two other games. One other game that I played to try and help scratch this itch with the help of Hando, and I did to an extent. So me and Hando played some The Forest earlier this week, a couple times. That was good fun. We've made a little base. I'm a little annoyed with The Forest in general because I love base building games. I love building a big base. It's enjoyable. It's good to see your defenses working and such. But Hando started to explain to me, because we used to play this a couple of years ago, and he said, "Do you remember a couple of years ago we built that big base, and then suddenly we were under constant attack, and eventually we failed because there were just things attacking us constantly?" I was like, "Yeah, I remember." He said, "Yeah, basically the algorithm works like that. If you have the bigger your base, the more creeps will come at you."
Yeah, the more
it's like, so why do you bother building? And he was like, "Exactly. Well, you build small base and then you move around. You're supposed to explore." I'm like, well, I get that you're supposed to explore, but I don't understand why I'm not allowed to build a base. I mean, there's so much customization in the game. Like, you can make your own custom, like, I want a half wall here, then a full wall here, and then I'm going to have like a floor there, and then a trap up on top of it. You can really customize and do a lot of fun stuff. But if you're under constant attack, why even bother? Like, there's literally no purpose to it. And that really irritated me. And so, again, that was something really annoying me with The Forest. But I still do plan to continue playing because I really do love the feel of the game. I do love the other aspects of the game. That is really a graphically gorgeous game. The monsters lore is quite interesting. The story's interesting. They don't just spoon feed you it. You have to kind of explore yourself and find put together all the different pieces in the storyline. And Hando was telling me some of it, and it is very interesting. I didn't know a lot about The Forest.
Nice.
So I want to play that, and plus it's co-op, which is pretty fun as well. That has its own level of enjoyment to it. So I'm enjoying that, and I've still got installed. I will come back to The Forest and probably play with Hando a bit more.
It passed that basic level of the Ken gauge, which is it's not taking up. It is still residing on your hard drive, which is like the number one thing, because you are.
That is absolutely it. That is
quick
absolutely
to kill
it.
a game.
If I'm frustrated enough, I'll just get rid of it. I don't have time to waste on games that have irritating features. So the last game that I've been playing, and so far is exceeding my expectations several times over. So I picked this up yesterday.
Okay.
Because it was on a really nice sale on Steam. This is Dying Light. So I originally acquired Dying Light. Let me actually find out the release date here as well, because I'm quite interested. I originally acquired Dying Light back in 2015 when it first came out. And mainly because I wanted to have a quick demo and see if my computer could run it. It could not at all. It crashed within the first 2 minutes of landing. So I was like, okay, well, I'm just going to install that and know not to buy it. And I'm glad I did that. I see we have invaders. Thank you very much, naughty girl next door. So I started playing Dying Light on my new laptop, and it is running beautifully on ultra graphics. It is gorgeous, really, really pretty game. The story so far is enjoyable, if a little bit unrealistic, but that's not a problem per se. It's just a different world. There's an RPG element to it, so you're running around picking up items, and you're leveling up, and you're trying to craft, and I like all this stuff. There's open world exploration mixed with quests. There's also bounties and side quests you can do, and there's also co-op, which I've not touched yet. But I'm so far really thoroughly enjoying Dying Light, and I'm actually kind of itching to get back into it. Now, I had to force myself not to play it during the show, because I know I was sitting here with a laptop.
Thank you,
and I was
Ken.
like,
Thank you for that.
I could do it. But no, I'm not going to. So Dying Light it really has won my affection. Admittedly, I've only got a couple hours into the game so far.
Well, because that one's a lot more actiony, right? A little bit parkour in the way that you get to move around a lot while you're dealing with the zombies and such.
I wasn't expecting that at all. All I knew was a zombie game, but suddenly it's basically Mirror's Edge plus zombies. I was like, where did this come from? And it is a little hard to get used to. I made a mistake today because I picked up my first non-tutorial quest, right? I picked it up.
Okay.
And then I was walking out to go do my first quest, and suddenly, because I'm no longer in a tutorial, I'm guessing all the features opened up. And I noticed there's a bounty board. And I was like, oh, bounties, the side quests. Let's do some side quests. So I picked those up, and I went to the first one that was nearby, just thinking it'd be, easy mode. You're at the start of the game. No, it was marked down as hard. And I thought, maybe it's hard for the average player. I would like to think that I'm better than average. Of course I'm not, right? I know that now. So I went in, and it turned out that I don't know how to play this game very well. The parkour involved in general combat is actually quite difficult.
Meaning you have to basically stay active while fighting, not just, hang out somewhere and try to kill everything?
Yeah, exactly. I'm more of a sniper's nest kind of guy or something, but I've not even got a ranged weapon yet. I'm all melee. All you pick up in the first few hours of the game is just different types of pipes and stuff. That's all you have, because you're in the slums. The zombie infesting the slums. So it was quite a difficult thing. And they said you had to stealth past these 5 super zombies who are looking around the place. I couldn't even get past the first one. I had no way to do it. I tried different routes. I tried sneaking. The problem was that no matter where you went, there was normal zombies there who started chasing you. And if you weren't fast enough, they would get you, and you had to attack them to get them away from you. If you attack them, it alerts the nearby zombie, and you fail for getting caught, right, by the zombie. So it was quite. I imagine what it is I know there's some features in the game that I haven't unlocked due to skill trees partly. So for example, there's a lot of 99% of the crafting I haven't unlocked. Apparently there's a grapple. I don't have that yet. And plus I know there's an entire agility skill tree that I have 1 point out of 100. So I'm guessing there's a lot that I can't do yet. So it's probably making it particularly difficult doing it without any of the functionality. So I don't mind that though, right? I don't mind a game saying, you can try it. If you want to go for the harder stuff, you go for it. And it did warn me. It said this is hard. So I went for it and failed. And, I licked my wounds, walked out and said, that's fine. I'm going to do some main storyline stuff, and I'll come back to you later. And so anyway, overall, I'd say Dying Light so far, with only a few hours of playtime, is very enjoyable, very pretty. The lighting is gorgeous. Good lighting. Really,
I always like that. Well, it's fun. Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, that's good to hear, because I'm pretty sure I have Dying Light. I think I loaded it once and got 10, 15 minutes into it, just kind of see that it worked, but never really got into the game. And so that's one I'm actually very curious of. And Hando, I think I would be up for checking it out after the show, because I'm pretty sure I have it. I have to double check and make sure it's installed, but I'm pretty sure I have. I saw something that said I at least had DLC or something for it. So, no, I'd love to check that out, and a good tail end to after the spooky season type stuff.
Absolutely. That's partly why it was on sale, right? It was on the Halloween sale. So that's what I've been doing for my Geek Cred.
Very nice.
Yeah, please feel free to download that game if you want to play with us, guys. Only a couple weeks till I'm in Michigan, and I've got a lot more free time at that stage, so I'll be playing
when
games
it's
then.
so much earlier on you on a Sunday, you might actually be able to participate. Cannot wait.
Awesome.
Cannot wait. All right. Well, with that, we got some news, so let's go ahead and switch over for a little bit of
technology, news, and more today on the Geekoscope.
Because what has been going on in the world of tech or gaming and such for us this week? Well, BlizzCon, of course, it's going on, and you hopefully have been seeing some of the words coming out of there and kind of the news and things they've been talking about. There were a lot of leaks leading up to it. We had talked about some of it last week, knowing that things were going to happen, and now there is more to see and know. So, from that, oh no, that is going away. Thank you.
Did you click on it?
No, our moderators are doing their job, so thank you very much. But yeah, no.
Oh, geez.
Yeah, as well. So thank you, moderators.
It's just one guy, isn't it?
Well, it's the challenge of, yes, we have just enough for people to be appearing here. I would hate for us to have to set our chat settings to say only followers are able to chat, but if it continues in that range, that'll be what we do. Anyhow.
It just looks like we've got lots of people paying attention. That's cool.
Yeah, it is. It's just, then you have to worry about that. So, anyhow, with BlizzCon coming out and what's been going on with that, we knew going in that there were going to be some things going on, like... we knew that we were going to see something about Overwatch, about WoW, and I think those were the main two. And we kept hearing news about Diablo, right? Those are the big ones that we kept hearing things about. And as far as I've seen, I want to say that's been about the only things we've really seen come out of it. I may have missed some other stuff, but really that it has... The news is... Was there more on Hearthstone? Because I hadn't seen anything on that one. Okay. Because that one I hadn't actually seen any new news on. So, to start things...
Before we jump into the discussion of what Blizzard announced, can we discuss the controversy first? I feel like that's very much a requirement.
Well, which one? The protests and such around it?
Yes. Okay. So, they opened up the stream, and Hando is one that first helped me learn of this, because I didn't watch the stream, with an apology, apparently. But their apology wasn't so much about... We're sorry we did it. It was more of, we're sorry that we acted so quickly on it. We should have thought about it further. So they haven't actually apologized, which irritated a lot of people. And I think it may have stoked the fires in some respects. But I think a lot of people don't care enough, and they'll just take any kind of apology. I personally am still not happy with Blizzard and the way they've been dealing with this. I think human rights should come first before money. And this is where capitalism falls for me, right?
Well, so this is the actual quote of what apparently Blizzard's president, J. Allen Brack, said, is that, quote, Blizzard had the opportunity to bring the world together in a tough Hearthstone esports moment about a month ago, and we did not. Said, we moved too quickly in our decision making, and then, to make matters worse, we were too slow to talk with all of you. When I think about what I am most unhappy about, there's really two things. The first one is we didn't live up to the high standards that we really set ourselves or for ourselves. The second is we failed in our purpose, and for that I am sorry and I accept accountability. And so that's essentially what he started and opened with when it talked about their quote, which I can also understand right away how that would feel a bit minimal.
Yeah, it's not really good enough. And the worst thing about it is that the only reason they actually said anything about it is because BlizzCon has been getting attacked by people who are protesting outside, handing out free T-shirts to anybody who's interested that all say, free Hong Kong on them, which is interesting. So what I wanted to say was there is a lot of interesting news at BlizzCon this week. I myself find myself being attracted to it, and we will discuss it because that's what we do here, right? It's our kind of our job. However, I will not discuss it without first giving the caveat of I will not be buying any of these products. I will not be playing any Blizzard games until they've done something about this political controversy and made up for their sins in this regard, because they are, in my opinion, harming human lives by the way that they've been dealing with this, and it's not acceptable. They've been saying that they prefer money over human rights, and I will not accept that. As such, I will... Yeah, it's cat stream. As such, I will not be buying any of the games that have been announced, regardless how exciting and cool they look. However, we will still be discussing them regardless. All right. So there's lots of interesting news regarding... actually, IGN has a really nice article, which is called Every Major 2019 BlizzCon Announcement. And I'm going to give a link to that in the chat for anybody interested. That's there. And they said, Blizzard opened its BlizzCon 2019 ceremony with an announcement, but with Blizzard Entertainment's J. Allen Brack speaking in light of the recent controversy that struck up, as we said before. There are... The first one is first. Let's go with Diablo.
Sure, let's talk some Diablo.
So, do you have the cinematic, or at least some of it, available to show?
I do.
After previous rumors and leaks, Blizzard have officially announced Diablo 4. The isometric action RPG will be coming to PC, PS4, Xbox One, and Blizzard unveiled the first 3 classes for the sequel: Barbarian, Sorceress, and Druid. That's a new one, which Copy will be very interested in. The announcement came before way of a cinematic trailer for Diablo 4, which you will see in a moment. This is again from IGN, and I am quoting them here. So I gotta say, like the reveal trailer is quite beautiful. The cinematic is absolutely gorgeous, and it really has a very diabolical feel to it. It's got that sort of like creepy, bloody, fleshy feel that resounds to me of Diablo 2, which was quite well done. I was curious how they were going to, make a new Diablo when we've killed the big bad already. So that was going to be interesting to me. But they've brought in Lilith for anybody interested. The big bad is Lilith.
Yeah, basically bringing
the cinematic
back
was
Lilith,
absolutely
essentially.
As with every Blizzard cinematic, everybody in the comments on all the videos are saying, why haven't they made a film that looks like this yet on Diablo?
Just do that. Just do that.
Yeah, just do that. Don't worry about your games. Just do that. We'll spend money. There's also a gameplay teaser as well and some reveal images. It does look very, very... Oh my god, it looks ridiculously pretty, actually. Unlike the previous Diablos, it looks like it might actually be third person from this.
Well, no. It is still isometric top, 3/4 scale top down. It is still the exact same engine kind of look and feel that we've had in the past. Still Diablo in all that sense. And it's funny because prior Hando was telling me, he said it looked like, in his opinion, like you're playing in a painting and such.
Yeah.
And... with that, I agree that it looks pretty from the static sense, like the backgrounds and such, and it has all that in-depth detail that Blizzard's known for. I don't know. The problem is when I see the gameplay, to me, it is just the same Diablo we've always seen. So when I watch all the action and stuff like that, it's more the same, which is not necessarily a bad thing, because I know a lot of people who are still playing Diablo 3 all the time in their groups and kind of doing it all the same.
I can't say this just looks like standard Diablo because in Diablo 3, and I did play a lot of Diablo 3. In Diablo 3, it looks a lot like you're just running around in a rather static... There might be some animations around the place, but generally speaking, it's a static frame that you're running around in. In this, some of the things that you see the characters look at, like the beautiful landscapes and the moving snake and the rivers and such, it looks more animated and like you're part of the world, looking down at a world rather than looking down at a game board. I just saw you can turn into a bear as a druid. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, no, well, I watched some of the details where they talked about the gameplay stuff, and they're trying to make it so like the transition between, especially for the druid, is one of the ones they talked about a lot of, since they haven't announced all of the different character types yet. But it showed that like you can change into the various forms by casting essentially ability, so it's kind of on the fly versus having to choose it first. And so there's a lot of, being able to tie things together better, I think, as they're showing. And I will give credit. Diablo has gotten to a point where its animations, its spell effects, all those things are gorgeous, right? And the creatures are really pretty and things like that. So yes, it looks amazing. It really does. My concerns. Yes, it does look like there's a decent story, and I do recommend watching the introduction trailer for it because it's kind of an interesting trailer. When they first kind of show what she's going to look like coming out, it's actually a pretty good, epic kind of like, yep, that's her, and woo, Lilith looks pissed, right? She does look good. For me, I don't know if this is my kind of game. It's just where you talked about the game being able to just play and click when it came to Destiny, just keep clicking, click. To me, that's Diablo. Because when I first played Diablo 3, until you're able to put it up to much harder modes, I felt like you're just clicking. And there's not a whole lot of thought going into the gameplay. It's just mash and kill as many things as you can.
I'll give you that. The first playthrough, the campaign, that it does feel like it's just a click and win. But that's kind of the intention. It's more about the story the first time through. After that, when you unlock the higher difficulties, it becomes an entirely different experience. Especially when season gameplay comes into it, when you restart the campaign or you restart story mode and you do certain things you're supposed to do. I find that a lot more enjoyable. It's more like a bounty hunter effect, and I enjoy that. Especially because on the higher difficulties, if you really are playing it properly to try and get the best gear, you should be playing it at a part where it's not just you run through and everything dies. It should be a case of you have to dodge, you have to think about it, you have to drop potions, you have to time everything very well. Yeah. And that's where a lot of the fun comes to it.
So we'll see what this one does. I mean, it's Diablo, so people will be excited. At the same time, though, talking about some of the details of it, concerns me. Because it's one thing to say, okay, it's going to be another Diablo and everyone's going to want to play it and that's awesome and fun, but there's some challenges in there that go with, but what are you playing? Because one of the big comments that came up in this discussion about it is there an offline mode for Diablo 4? And the answer... Yes?
I'm conflicted on this because my old view on this was why on earth would there ever not be an offline mode for these things? It's madness. What kind of world do we live in where offline mode is no longer the norm for single player games? It's madness. One, we live in a world where everybody has internet access, right? So it's more or less, right? Like
there's
at least in the West,
to some level, yes.
In first world countries, yes. So there is that element, and I suppose you could argue for example, places. In fact, I was talking to somebody from South Africa who was saying he was really mad about the fact Diablo was not available offline because not only is his power not reliable, but it's also his internet, right? So he can't necessarily be sure that he'll be able to continually play with a connection. Anyway, the problem with Diablo 2 was that you would jump on to an online game, and there'd be a 60-70% chance you'd jump in with somebody who was a hacker and a cheater, right? And they wouldn't be banned. They'd be running around doing what they want. And that happened because they allowed offline play to be no internet connection. So rather than the server verifying all the things that happens, it was the local computer, which meant that you could have people do that. Now, this means to me that much like Diablo 3, they're focusing heavily on this idea of you play with your friends. It's co-op. You're supposed to be able to play with people online. And if you want to have that experience and it be enjoyable and, have competitive leaderboards and stuff like that, you need to have some kind of verification system in place. And having it online means it doesn't have to be DRM based. It doesn't mean it has to be like, scanning your system and doing any weird stuff there. It means that it is just internet connection based. It sucks, right? I wish that there was a way to say, I accept that I can't take part in leaderboards, but I want to go offline play and be allowed to do that. But it'll ban you maybe from leaderboards or whatever. Fine. I think that would be a nice way of doing it. I mean, it could kind of suck in some ways, but it would ensure that your precious leaderboards are nice and protected. Also, you could have maybe some kind of sniffer in place that for people who play on protected online servers or something. Maybe you can have the co-op mode characters that you play in co-op mode are only allowed to be played online. Those characters.
Those are some of the options I think you can do that you can manage it. Because the challenge is, Diablo has enough of a gameplay that I can understand wanting to just sit there and go through it yourself. Because when I played Diablo 3, I did it primarily on my own through the storyline, and that was fine. Because, again, it gives me away from the multiplayer aspect of people trying to drag me through the content and actually be able to listen to whatever story's there, and take a moment and enjoy it. And so I'm a big fan of being able to have an offline mode. It's similar to me getting mad whenever something doesn't have a LAN mode as we continue into that world.
Yes, absolutely.
Right? That at least with all the different systems that are out there, and Blizzard has it built in with their BattleNet stuff, with Blizzard.net or whatever they call it now for the launcher. I love the ones that let you, like on Steam, where you can set things off where you only have to touch their server every however many days or something like that, and you can still play games offline. That it only has to basically say, yep, you're legit still, and it doesn't on occasion. But you can actually access and play this stuff internally all the time. I think it is a horrible trend that we have across the industry today, how many games you can buy that out of the box will not play. And this happens on consoles all the time where the challenge in that things that require patches to even be able to play them pisses me off. And so as we get more and more constantly connected, you run into a situation where I may not run the Blizzard client every time I load my computer, because guess what? I don't play Blizzard games that often. And so it's annoying as heck to me every time I load it that I then have to wait an additional 20-30 minutes to play a game because all of them now have to update before I can even play them. How ridiculous is that? It makes sense to me in a game like Overwatch, in a game like WoW, where it's primarily online.
You have to, yeah.
Yeah, right? Because you have to make sure your client's up with it. But when you're in games like Diablo or any of these others that you could probably play in some level of single player or minimal, it sucks that you can't even touch it. And it's happening all the time. It's something I wish we as a community could find a way to push back heavily on developers to say, release a content that I can play the moment I get it. If I put a disc in my console, let me play the game. Right? Don't make me say check online before you have to play. Again, any of those things just piss me the heck off because that comment that, hey, we are living in a world where primarily people have access to broadband internet or some level of internet, it bothers me because it's allowing developers to continue to be lazier and lazier about how they do things, and now requiring those connections to do anything. And I shouldn't have to, if I buy a physical media and put it in, I shouldn't have to connect to the internet to be able to load and play that game. All the content's right there. And if it means I play a slightly buggier version because I don't choose to update it, that should be okay, right? And so I have a concern about the online-only aspect of it.
Again, that's going to be for the PC version, right? Because the PlayStation version, they can't force that because it's on PlayStation servers, and they're not allowed to do that.
Are you sure? Because they're making more and more deals about stuff.
No, they're not allowed to. That's the way Sony forces it, is on their servers. Same with Diablo 3. You can actually play the older versions, etc. That's all fine.
Oh, okay.
Offline play is fine because it's all on Sony servers.
Wow, that's like the only time I've heard a benefit of the console playing.
So as well as that, we've got another announcement. Well, we've got several, right? The next up from Diablo 4 is Overwatch 2 has been confirmed.
Yes, and there are several very pretty videos out there about Overwatch 2. In fact, I will make sure to queue one up here as you want to jump into it.
Sure. I don't have much to say about it because I only played Overwatch 1 for, I think, 2 matches and then uninstalled, which is very mean.
Fair. Okay, fair.
Jeff Kaplan officially confirmed Overwatch 2 is the next chapter of the popular franchise. There is a cinematic tease offered as a setup for the sequel, which will show it in a moment. It'll exist in a shared multiplayer ecosystem with Overwatch 1, allowing for players of both games to stay on the same maps with the same heroes. Cosmetics will also carry forward to Overwatch 2, which I think is a really interesting...
Yeah,
I don't think we've really seen that before with many video games before.
No, it'll be very curious to see how they pull that off and what that really means. Because then there's a question of, why do I need to get Overwatch 2? What's in there that I need this aspect of it, right? Because there's some of the big discussions, as they say, they're using the same engine as Overwatch, but it's been modified and updated. So it is not a new replacement engine. That's something they made sure to talk about in one of the panels that I was listening to, talking about overall what Overwatch is doing. But
that makes sense, though. They would have to make sure that it's not a new one if they want to have them compatible for playing together in the same maps, right?
Well, and admittedly, it's funny because when I look at this cinematic and the videos and stuff from it, I don't see really any difference from the regular first Overwatch engine. I mean, they already had this kind of... I mean, this is true of almost all of Blizzard's games other than, I would say, Diablo, is that it doesn't have that extra realistic look. So, in that sense, it's kind of like, it's cartoonish anyways. I don't see much difference. But I think the things that I've seen that are unique to what it looks like they're trying to do with Overwatch 2 is additional game modes. And so the big ones I've seen were a different kind of control point mode where they have a robot that pushes an item back and forth across the tail for basically it's a control point type one or the progression type gameplay. That's one big aspect they're doing for a game mode. The other big one that I've heard overall has been the co-op, essentially, that they're doing verse AI kind of story mode game. And that's going to be a big one.
Right.
So yeah, that new one's called Push with the Robot that it's showing right now.
That's pretty fun, actually. That's quite a fun idea.
So I like the idea of them doing a co-op thing and a story, and a lot of people I've seen who are fans of it have been saying they've been wanting a story mode for quite some time. And so it'll be interesting to see what that translates to. And they've had, if you watch all the cinematics, and I think you can watch almost 2 hours of cinematics from Overwatch 1, of all like the various character intros and the kind of combined story and stuff like that. There's a lot that they talk about. And so I like that they're adding to the world because they do provide story in it. And so that'll be interesting. They've talked about, because in the story mode, they actually kind of choose which characters you get to play together, as that way they're progressing the story in a specific way. But then they're also going to have a heroes mode or heroic mode or something like that you do certain maps where you can kind of choose any combination you want. And so that should be, like I said, it should be an interesting thing they're doing with the new Overwatch. So there's that aspect of it.
I suppose it comes down to when it comes out. Will it be worth? Is it actually worth buying this new game, as opposed to Okay, maybe that's not the right way of phrasing this. Is it actually worth Blizzard making this a new game as opposed to just giving out a bunch of new updates and calling it a DLC or something? we'll see, right?
And
the difference is with a new game, they can charge full price, right? That's the key.
One of the big questions, right? One of the big questions is why this versus so many other options and things, right? And so that is one that's, I think it's a valid question. I think it's absolutely a valid question to say, couldn't this have been accomplished just through DLC, just like you're saying? And I would say probably yes. I would say I think that you probably could have gotten through all of this without needing to, release a new quote-unquote game, a full new game. I don't know. We'll see where it goes. I think for those people who are massive Overwatch fans, this is huge. Maybe Blizzard's doing it just in the right time frame because it hasn't. It peaked, but maybe they're catching before it drops off too much to throw out a new version. It does feel like it's fairly soon compared to when Overwatch came out, and that Overwatch 1 could have a lot more life to it. So it is just kind of one of those interesting overall decisions, but we shall see. We shall see what they do with it. It's going to be pretty. Overwatch is another one of those games that actually I think plays fairly well because they have such a, in a way, simplified engine. Low polygon count, but lots of pretty details and hiding how low polygon it is. So it plays very well. So it'll be interesting to see what they do with it. Another piece of that is they're changing a mechanic where you can actually, at least in the story mode, level up your champs. And so that they have some progression that you can change some of their abilities, like a tree of really just 2 options per level. Yeah. But where they can do a couple different very special things that are different. It's a tweak on what it does. It's not like it's revolutionary or anything different. But again, when has Blizzard as a company ever done anything revolutionary? Right? After WoW,
before they're acquired by Activision.
Yeah, exactly. Right? Since then, it's just comfortable money that they're making. And so we really haven't seen Blizzard come in and define a new genre. They just see what else is popular and then make their own shiny version. So
it's an understandable way to make money. It does make sense. So that's Overwatch 2. The next big announcement, which I think we're probably most interested in, is there is a new World of Warcraft expansion which has been announced. Do you want to give this one away, sir? And I did the last one.
Okay.
Last few, actually.
So what they just came out with, and there's a lot of little details with it, but it is World of Warcraft Shadowlands. So they announced a new, an entirely new expansion that's coming out. And I will admit, I have not seen when they have it planned for the expansion to actually come out.
I have no idea.
Yeah, I've only seen that they are doing it.
2020.
Okay, so coming out next year, which is not far away, so it depends on what time through. Hando, that is a good announcement, whether it's WoW Stranger Things. But another beautiful cinematic with it, and it's one that's showing us again something that we hadn't seen for some time, the overall storyline. Because admittedly, I have not played through the later storyline of WoW. Right? I never got past into the current expansion or into what's leading to the next one, so I haven't done Battle of Azeroth. But it starts out.
It's basically just lore armor 3.7. That's pretty much what it is.
But it shows you some of the things like as copy, first announcements of stuff like that with it, the burning of the world tree and all those kind of things that happened in the world. And so here your big evils are with Sylvanas suddenly rearing her head as being like true evil versus traditional horde. Well, this continues that storyline piece because you see Sylvanas come directly up against. And I forget the name of the guy who took on the mantle of the Lich. Yeah, because he was more balanced, right? And just actually playing the role of the Lich to keep balance in the world.
So Bolvar Fordragon was a really interesting character because he was a paladin of the light resurrected by the Red Dragonflight. Man, anybody who's not played World of Warcraft just could be like, what? Who are these nerds? And he picked up the crown of the Lich King because as he stated at the time, there must always be a Lich King, implying that if he did not take it, the undead hordes would ravage the world, and he had to control them with his telepathic powers, effectively.
Yes.
But as a paladin, that meant that he had this interesting story arc where he might be controlling them for good and not for evil. But there's been lots of hints of, he's still got Ner'zhul's brain kind of in there, telepathically controlling him, yada 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 yada. So what's really happening? And Bolvar was this break this, reveal Bolvar if World of Warcraft is failing. That's what Bolvar's always been, right? He's this amazingly interesting story element. And while this cinematic is beautiful and really interesting, I'm going to spoil what happens here for anybody who's not seen it. He doesn't die, right? Bolvar lives at the end.
Well, we don't know where it goes after that, right? Because it focuses on a different aspect of the point of what Sylvanas does, right, in this whole scene. Because of the action of them fighting and everything, which is really pretty, and I invite you to go look to it in full glory. I'll skip ahead to the point where essentially Sylvanas does some really cool things where she chains him down and removes the helmet. Right.
Can I also mention about where did all her new powers come from? People are saying that she made this deal with one of the gods of death, which is, fine and everything, but they still don't really explain that give her any power, really. She has like telepathic powers that are just insane now. I mean, previously she used to run from Arthas' Lich King. Surely Bolvar, who was one of the most powerful paladins of all time, resurrected by red dragon fire, right, which is insane, and he's the Lich King. I mean, this guy should be like a near god level, and Sylvanas just walks up and throws a couple arrows around.
They hint that Sylvanas has done something, that she is hardcore at this point. We don't know.
I don't know.
And maybe well, it's possible that if you play through the full Battle of Azeroth kind of thing, what they've done there and the later things, maybe they hint at it more. I don't know. But it's great because they show the moment where it almost looks like she's going to put the helmet on because he warns her saying that, it'll corrupt you basically. And she's like, no, I'm not here to put it on. I'm here to, in her own way, she basically says, save the world. Or not save the world, but says that this world is her prison. And so she wants to move on
death, right?
And so
she's obsessed with death.
Yeah, and so what this is hinting at, what it's doing is once they break it, and you see this beautiful scene of like the sky ripping open. Basically, this is a connection now to the Shadowlands. And for anyone who's played WoW at all, right, you've all experienced the Shadowlands, whether you know it or not. Anytime that you ever died in the game, you went to the Shadowlands. And essentially they talk more detail, because I did hear some of the panel stuff about it, that essentially now, instead of you dying, you always run into, and they have that keeper or the kind of the ghost over the graveyards that you can resurrect at. If I understood it correctly, that person, that element, that being is no longer available. And so in a way, you don't die. You now kind of go to the Shadowlands and continue. And so at least lore-wise, that's what bits I'm understanding. Now, the more, I would say, interesting, or the things that should be talked about with it, are what does this mean for the game, for the gameplay, and what it is you're actually doing in it. And that's where I think it gets a little more interesting. Because they talk about, in this, as they open up the rift and such, that you're going to go through this whole thing where they've changed the leveling structure. They've opened up, I'm trying to think some of the basic things. They've changed the leveling structure. They're actually going to go back to essentially a level 1 to 60 style thing for it. And I don't know if that level structure goes where everybody, once this rift opens, starts at level 1 and goes up, or if this is something that once you enter the Shadowlands, you start as level 1 and do a separate leveling progression. I'm not sure how that works. There was something about when it first starts, it opens up, you have a limited set of who can all do it, but once you have completed some things, everyone gets access, like you get full access to it across all your tunes. But they did talk about some other gameplay things where they're opening up the ability to be a Death Knight to all races. And so,
I didn't know that.
Yes, you can have Panda Death Knights now, as that'll come forward. Just for you, Ken. And what were some of the other aspects? But they also talked about, if I remember correctly, that the leveling structure should be faster. Yeah, and that's what they talked about. Copy saying the word where they said level squish. I like how you say that, Copy. I stepped in level squish. Because I don't know exactly how that's going to translate. What that's going to mean for people.
Yeah, we're going to have to see. I mean, that's the thing. I think this lore has been... I think the lore in the past expansion was absolutely horrific, right? They seem to be really just doing random stuff, seemingly, introducing things that didn't really make sense. They're trying to make as many new races as possible because they thought, hey, in the past that made us money when we said the pandas and stuff. Let's do that again times 6. And there's so many sub-races and allied races and blah, blah, blah.
I at least appreciate... I at least appreciate the sub-races because they've always existed in the lore in some way. They just haven't been playable. Is that they at least make it where it's another reason to grind, right? You have to have enough faction in those specific things to be able to create a tune in those races. So I give credit for that, right? You don't get them at just start of the launch, so it's not like they just saturated it. It's another perk of something to work towards. And something that maybe in a lot of ways with rep grinds, that kind of thing, has been lost in some ways, that because they talked about some other things they're really trying to bring into it, of making things relevant again, things like certain epics and other stuff like that. And so it'll be interesting to see what they do. Another piece they introduced was they're going to add this ability called a covenant, that once you hit level 60, you'll be able to join into a covenant. And as a group, what is it you get to do from that point? You get to join one of 4 covenants groups of the Shadowlands: the Angelic Kyrians, the Undead Necrolords, the Nature Guarding Night Fae, and the Vampiric Venthir. You only get to choose one of these covenants when you reach level 60, and it will completely change the way you build your character. And so I don't have details on all of that.
Which is pretty interesting, right? I am curious how that works and everything, but I don't know. I just feel like the Shadowlands were such an extreme mystery. Like, we knew nothing about them. Whereas I think a lot of the previous expansions were all built upon previous lore that kind of made sense. Like Burning Crusade, right? Demons, Burning Crusade, obviously, right? They've been existed all through the Warcraft series. That's very important. Wrath of the Lich King. Lich King was Warcraft 3. Great. That makes sense. Pandaria, all right. There was like one panda character in the Warcraft 3, clearly a cash grab, right? Battle for Azeroth, clearly a bit of a cash grab. There's no original. It's entirely original lore in the sense that it didn't exist at all really beforehand, other than the fact a couple of the places existed in lore. But that's about it. It was.
Well, you say I'll actually play. I'll play advocate here in a way, because you say cash grab, but at what point? Because we do realize that Blizzard's not releasing Warcraft 4, right? We have not heard even like a whisper that that's going to happen. So what's wrong with them within their primary Warcraft engine, them progressing the story and making new content? Something that isn't referenced prior and actually building on the world. What's wrong with that? Because WoW's been around for a long time, and they're not making WoW 2.
Because that's the problem right there, is that sometimes for a story to be enjoyable, it has to end. There's a natural finale to most
You just
stories.
walked right past every MMO out there and all of like One Piece. There are certain stories out there that just will not end, no matter how much you want to kill them.
Yeah, that's not a good thing. I mean, like, look at The Simpsons, right? I think as much as people like, old Simpsons, nobody wants it to keep going, other than the cash-grabbing CEOs at Fox, right? And it's the same with World of Warcraft, I think, at this stage. The last couple of expansions have been, including this one, looks like it's going to be very much... Like, Shadowlands we mentioned as, like, this mysterious place, and that's kind of it, and it's kind of... There's nothing wrong with having mystery. Mystery is actually a good thing. Sometimes you don't want certain aspects explained, because that adds a mystique to it. Tom Bombadil, right, in Lord of the Rings. People don't fully understand his character. Is he actually God? Maybe, maybe not. Is he actually a representation of Tolkien in the universe? Maybe, maybe not. He's this nice unknown figure who has some crazy power, but and even the One Ring doesn't affect him and everything. And that's fun. That's what makes him so enjoyable. He's this anomaly, and it's interesting. It makes you want to just like grab it and play with it and think about it. And I love that. And Shadowlands kind of has that as well. It's like death is a great unknown even to us. Priests and paladins can bring some people back. Warlocks can take their souls. But when people die, we don't know where they go. That was one of the few great mysteries in World of Warcraft that was barely mentioned. I think in some troll lore they talk about the Shadowlands, maybe in some priest lore as well. But I like the fact that it was a true mystery, and the fact that they're just expanding this the way they have. Also, death has already been explored in different avenues for different races. Vrykul, right? And we talk about Odin in all this. And I think that's to do with depending on your faith almost. But the Shadowlands stuff, like, how does that all congeal? Is this all going to be retconned? It just feels like a right mess to me, and it irritates me. And we probably shouldn't refer this too far, right? Because I could go on for a while. But the new World of Warcraft expansion looks very pretty in the gameplay trailer. There's some interesting features they're bringing in that I think many people are excited for. This idea of allying to a faction is something that people have always talked about, right? The idea that you could choose any race and then just choose if you're Horde or Alliance kind of thing, instead of these preset things. I think what they've done is found a safe way of doing that, which is having 4 new factions. You get to choose which one you are, and it massively affects what's going on. And that's what you want. You want your faction allegiance to actually change gameplay. That's important. It should change the armors you get, the mounts you get, the storyline, and how ethically good you are, or how your ethics are defined and your morality. That's fun and enjoyable, and I'm excited for all of that. I do feel like the storyline is a cash grab, and I do feel like Sylvanas is very much a Mary Sue, who does not make any sense in the storyline anymore. She used to be a really fascinating, background, intelligent creature who took advantage of certain situations. Now she's some kind of god who can just walk in and take on the Lich King by shooting a couple of arrows around. Yeah, okay, fine, whatever.
Hey, maybe this is their opportunity to tell that story, and we will find out. It's hard to say. Don't know. Right? And so, because we know very little about it other than it's happening. I'll admit now, the launch, I mean, there's at least a piece where they did a good tease with the cinematic. I still think one of the more epic teases ever was when they did the Sundering and they had Blackwing come back and render the world up and everything, because that was huge, right? Cataclysm was massive when Deathwing came through. That was a big deal. I'm actually trying to find it in the video of the actual panel they talked about, because I'm skipping forward through a lot of the things they did about kind of how the factions and stuff would happen, because they talk about some other dungeons and things that will be coming. But one of the key pieces I remember them talking about was they really were focusing on adjustability. There it is. Character customization as one of the things that they are focusing on improving and opening up more of. And so, and feel free, the video that they have on YouTube on Gamers Pray for this, where they show the whole panel, it's about 45 minutes, and it talks about all these details. One of the big things they did with character customization is they wanted you to be able to more specifically show the subclasses within the race, right, or more details in. And so essentially when you choose any of the factions, it'll be a lot more detail than just general skin tone, to actually being able to change specifics on tattoos, more hairstyles, all those kind of things, but really to get down to kind of a very specific look. And I think the one that they really showcased it on was when they looked at like the human type, where in the humans, in the undead, they actually had quite a few too, which is nice, because I always felt like their character choices in it were so minor.
They were quite lackluster.
Yeah. When you actually look at the human ones, though, they're getting, oh look, I can see what actually look like real races in the world of humanity on Earth. There you go. And so,
okay, that makes sense.
You know, it's kind of nice that they're providing.
Oh, you get Orc Undeads and stuff now. Finally,
they're expanding it out much more, where you'll actually be able to see all of those things. So, I think that's actually pretty cool. All of that. So there is a lot more coming out with the customization and things. So that's something that I think longtime players will always appreciate, because they talk about, like, one of the things they spent a lot of time on was the eyes, being able to really customize your eyes so it matches more what it would racially look like and such, and do more with that. So there's a lot of little pieces that they've said. So that'll be interesting.
Copy in the chat says, I'm conflicted. I agree with everything Ken said, but he still hates foxes. All right, so that's the World of Warcraft. The other big one, I don't know if you have it open, sir?
I don't, actually. I somehow misplaced it.
Right. The very last thing we'll talk about here is some Hearthstone announcements. So Blizzard confirmed several new things for its Hearthstone community. The first is Descent of Dragons expansion, which will launch on December 10th. There is a trailer for it, which we will probably load up just now. And they also announced Hearthstone Battlegrounds. It's an 8-player auto-player mode that features 24 unique heroes. I'm not too sure what that means by auto-player, but 8-player Battlegrounds are pretty crazy, considering in the past Hearthstone has always been 1v1. Occasionally they introduce this sort of like feature with certain events, I think through the Tavern Brawl features, that you could play against a boss with another person. So basically you and this other person would fight against this one minion that would zoom back and forth on the opposite side of the field, and together you had to destroy it, and that was quite an interesting way of dealing with it.
Okay.
So this new Battleground announcement has 23 unique heroes that you can play as, and it looks like it's making most of that features that were explored in recent Tavern Brawls as well, where you can visit the tavern and upgrade your deck and have a multi battle encounter, which is quite fun. But it looks to me, I don't know if that's actually going to be a new game entirely, or if that's going to be a part of Hearthstone. I don't know, but it's called Hearthstone Battlegrounds.
It looks like it'll be a part of Hearthstone. It'd be weird for me because it looks like such a specific thing for it to be additional or like a whole separate thing. It looks too small, I guess, for that. And so that way it would surprise me if it was a standalone thing.
It does say mode. It says mode on the ID article. So I'll assume,
And admittedly, I haven't followed any of the lore that they try to put out with Hearthstone to really be able to keep up with it. So for me, the cinematics in it aren't nearly as compelling. But basically just showing that the dragons being a big part of this with the Descent of Dragons. And so I would assume a whole lot of dragon cards, right? And a whole new playstyle with that.
The very last thing we should mention as well is that Warcraft 3 Reforged did have some announcements. Not really announcements as much. They showed some gameplay. They showed some screenshots. They talked a little bit as well, and I listened to a little bit of that panel.
Oh, did you?
Basically, they said that what they did is they got the original high-resolution cinematics that were in the original game, and they have enhanced it so that they are now in full 4K as well. Which is quite a good way of dealing with it, because the cinematics originally, they still look beautiful to this day. Even though it was, 2003 Warcraft 3 came out? I'm still amazed by how they look, which is a crazy thing to say. It just shows how good they are at making cinematics, right?
Well, so the funny part, right, is because assuming Blizzard is smart and don't get rid of any of their things that they continue to own, why wouldn't you just take it back with new technology, put it in 16:9, put it in 4K, and if you need to, touch up a few textures, and then re-release. That seems like it'd be so easy. Yeah,
that's what they're doing with the cinematics, right? But with the actual game itself, they seem to be entirely retexturing the entire thing. The animations are all getting redone. It looks quite beautiful. But they said it still feels like the standard game. You're still playing.
Well, it should, right? It's the nice thing about it is it should just bring it to a point where you're not having to use hacks or anything to be able to play in a modern world, that you should just be able to play it, which is really what you're after, right? And so it's interesting because there were a couple other remastered things that have come out recently, and some of them I think are just garbage. I want to say, what is it, the Age of Empire versions that came out as remastered versions?
I wasn't sold.
They were better graphics, but the engine looked clunky as it always had. And I guess
that's the thing, right? Textures aren't everything. If you upgrade the textures to real world quality, it doesn't matter if it's all 2D, for example. It'll still look like crap.
Yes.
Right? It's like, you ever seen like a 3D game where you have 2D textures that are upgraded? It still looks 2D. It doesn't look impressive. You need to have proper like ray tracing or additional
up your animation, right? Add more frames of animation to it. It's one of the biggest ones. It's one of the things that'll make any game feel and look clunky is when, like you said, when you're playing in I forget which game you said was Monster Hunter, and you're running into a situation where you're stuck in an animation type things. So many games are doing better where they have transitional animations, things where you can do different things and movements between, and it looks natural. Right, and we have the technology now that if you have units that are changing, like on horses and stuff, allow them to canter and move and adjust. Not just, now I'm facing the other direction, because that is so old. One of the challenges I have is I know what it is, when I see all the stuff they show for the remastered Command & Conquer. It just looks like garbage to me. Yeah, I do not want to play that game, because I feel like they missed an opportunity to make things really pretty and feel modern. In like a game built today with that original mechanics and balance, they could have made the same game, but truly a new engine. This one just looks like they slapped better textures and 16:9 support on it. And so it just looks clunky as all get out. Do not like it. So we'll see what they do. My overall impressions from all thing BlizzCon, just from what bits I've seen, admittedly not being a Blizzard fanboy, is that I have a pretty resounding meh coming out of it.
I disagree, right? So obviously, like I said, I'm not interested at all in anything Blizzard due to their ethical stances. So I am not interested. If I was looking at this from the viewpoint of they are not an evil company who have done evil things, and I saw these announcements, I'd be skeptically excited for the New World of Warcraft expansion, because I'd say, you know what, the second last expansion was awesome. I thoroughly enjoyed Legion. It was really probably one of the best expansions of all time for World of Warcraft, and it's fairly recent. So who knows? Maybe they could do it again with Shadowlands. I don't know, but I'm very much skeptical of it. I would definitely wait and see before touching it. As for Hearthstone, I would say that looks like fun. That's new and interesting. Fine, whatever. The fact they're still making original, and they're still every year they redefine the TCG genre, right? They are. I think we underestimate how good Hearthstone is in the TCG genre out there. It's kicking Magic the Gathering's butt every year, no problem. It's still massively got way more players as well. In terms of Diablo, I think it looks like a huge development from the Diablo 3. I think it's going to be a huge improvement because it's been when was Diablo 3 released?
It's been a long time.
It has been a while now, which is quite crazy because it still feels new to me. 2012, so yeah, 7 years old now. That is time for a new game. That new engine, new textures, new resolutions are available nowadays, right? That's understandable. I think they have a good reason to make a new game, and I think they could do a lot with that. Especially since they're introducing new classes, etc. It's not just a cash grab; they're actually introducing features as well, not just reskinning it. The Warcraft 3 stuff, I would normally say, how dare they just reskin a game that's not really making a new game. However, they're not just reskinning it like Age of Empires. I'd say they're actually remaking the game, which is quite impressive. And Warcraft 3 was such a staple. It was a redefining game for the genre, and it was personally such a important thing in my childhood. That for me, I that's going to be my hardest thing, I think. And I really hope Blizzard make up what they've done, because that's the one game that I would look forward to the most, is the Warcraft 3 Reforged, by far.
I will be more excited for, especially if they also do it in such a way that it includes all the DLC content that was part of it as part of the just launch.
Oh, Frozen Throne. Yeah, Frozen Throne should be integrated.
If they try to break that into two pieces, then I'll call a cash grab on them. And I say that because the work is all there, right? They already have all the stuff to do it. It would take how much percentage additional effort to include the entire thing in a package?
I'm not gonna agree with that. I think there is two separate games. There was different features, and there are new textures and stuff they'd have to do for it. If they wanted to charge twice, that's fine. Especially considering, from what I've seen from the price of Reforged, is actually lower than I would expect. I think it was £30, if I remember correctly.
Well, and that's the thing. It is lower, but again, it's already existing. All of it's out there. It's just a skinning of what's existent. So you're already updating the engine. All you have to do is continue to do it with that content as well. So I will say it's a bit cash grabby if they try to release it for an additional, £30 or £20. If they did it maybe for 10, maybe, but we'll see. It also depends how good it is.
I don't really care about. I'm excited for the base game. I think it's going to be exciting. I can't wait for the campaign, etc. But think of the custom games. This is going to be the next era of gaming. I think is going to be the custom games, Warcraft 3 Reforged.
It'll be curious to see, because I haven't jumped into enough, but I know StarCraft 2 has a bunch, and I've seen some people playing some of those and how they've said they're quite good. I haven't got into them enough, but I think there's an opportunity there for expanding gameplay significantly. And so,
well, Warcraft 3 was where the idea of MOBAs came from.
Yeah, it's where Dota started.
Until Warcraft 3. And it was redefined a part of gaming culture. And I could see that happening again with Warcraft 3 Reforged, because especially if they release a map editor that allows you to... I wonder if you could actually launch Warcraft 3 custom games within Warcraft 3 Reforged.
That would be
I doubt it.
Questionable. I wouldn't be surprised if a bunch of people do all the modding that they normally do and they make everything available, but I doubt it'll be plug and play. That would be impressive as heck. Anyhow. All right. Well, I think that's all the big things that we had for BlizzCon, all the stuff we were covering. So hopefully you guys were appreciative of us going a little bit longer, because we think that's timely and that's just happened. And perhaps, like I said, I'll talk to those people I know who went to get a more clear indication of what it is they enjoyed about BlizzCon. And who knows, maybe we'll have more discussion of this coming up as those details filter through more. But hopefully you've enjoyed that, and I'd love to hear back from you, commenting either on the video itself or emailing us in at showx@vtwproductions.com, your thoughts on what you come to learn and what things that maybe Ken and I missed when we were looking at our coverage, because we didn't sit by and watch every specific thing about it. We kind of caught pieces here and there. But if you're excited for it and you caught something that we weren't, tell us we're wrong. That's okay. We just know what we do. So with that, Ken, could you lead us out for today?
Absolutely. You've been listening to ShowX on twitch.tv/VtWShowX. I think that's what we're called. Or is it just ShowX? I think it's just ShowX.
It's VtWShowX.
No, it's VtWShowX. I was right the first time. I should have trusted my instincts. Thank you very much for watching us on twitch.tv/VtWShowX. You can tune in every week, Sunday, 2 p.m. EST, 7 p.m. GMT. You can send emails to showx@VtWShowX.com. You can follow us on Twitter, twitter.com/VtWShowX, twitter.com/drkenread, and twitter.com/DocDead. You can also follow us on Patreon and support us there, patreon.com/showx. From as little as $1 per month, we very much appreciate that. You can like us on facebook.com and search for ShowX there, and we'd like that too. And you can post about every single ShowX episode on Reddit. That's reddit.com/r/showx. Be sure to post about us there. And also, me and Wayne have our own personal Twitch channels. Mine is Ken Reed VTW, and Wayne's is just Doc Dead, I believe.
Yes.
So be sure to check us out there as well and follow us for all things gaming that are not directly related to the show. Thank you very much for hosting today, sir. I very much appreciate it. And thank you for allowing me to do the extra time today. That was very warranted, I think.
Absolutely. Good times for all. And I will definitely be jumping into Discord right after the show. So thank you, everybody, for listening this week. And we will catch you again next week. Hope you guys are having a wonderful, geeky week. With that, we're out of here. Have a good one, everyone.
Goodbye. Bye. See you next zombie. Good night. I forgot.